Hey everyone, welcome back. So in this particular video, we are going to build this agentic support desk using React and LangChain. Now before I'm going to show you the demo, so let's see what are the things that we are going to use. So for auth, we are going to use Scalekit. For test cases generation or building E2E test cases, we are going to use TestSprite. For agent, we are definitely going to use LangChain. And for our web search, we'll be using Tavily. And at the end, we are going to deploy this in our hosting a VPS. Okay. So now let's see the demo. So as you can see, this will be a login page. Okay, so once we click on this login, so it will go to the Scalekit hosted login where we can actually log in multiple ways. So for example, you can log in using Google or using your passkey, or you can also log in directly using OTP. So you just have to give your email, continue will be receiving the OTP, and based on that you'll be able to log in. For example, let's say I want to log in using Google. So I'll click on this continue with Google, and then I can select any account. And once the login is successful, so we will be redirecting to the support page. Okay, so here what we have, so basically we'll be able to switch from one provider to different providers. So for this particular one, we are going to use OpenAI and Gemini. So whatever you want to use, you will be able to switch. Okay, so now consider I will be just pasting any client ticket, and based on that our agent is going to decide that whether it needs to do a web search using Tavily or it's going to give you the result directly. So for example, let's say I'm just going to add this particular query there. Okay, so now let's see what is happening. So if I just do run, and you can see that now agent actually decided that okay, for this particular query I need to do a real web search, and based on that it's going to give you the sources and the ready-made customer reply that you can just copy and then send it to customer. Now if I just do opposite and then paste a different query where actually we don't have to do any kind of web search, so what will happen, the agent will directly generate the answer and it will give you the answer back. So for example, let's say if I'm going to just copy these and then I'm just going to paste it here. Okay, so you can see that it will immediately give you the answer back. So in this case it will not do any kind of web search or anything. Okay, all right, so this will be our overall flow that we are going to build. Now coming to test cases generation, so we are going to use TestSprite and we will be using the local MCP server. We have a complete dedicated section for this, and as you can see we will be writing our entire backend flow or backend E2E test cases. Okay, and for agent we are going to use LangChain and we'll be using the latest version of LangChain, which is version 1. Okay, and for deployment we'll be using Hostinger. So I'm pretty sure you're going to learn a lot of things, so let's get started and good luck. Alright everyone, so now let's get started. So as you can see that we'll start with a blank folder. So we are going to set up our server and the client side structure, project structure. Also we are going to set up all the things that we are going to use. So for auth we'll be using Scalekit. Also for testing, so create automation testing, we are going to, or for our backend testing we are going to use TestSprite, and for agent creation we are going to use LangChain, and for deployment we'll be using Hostinger. So that will be coming at the end. Now remember, I wanted to mention one more thing. So here the reason that why we are using LangChain is that, so definitely LangChain is going to give you a lot of extra features that you don't have to write code for that. So it will give you some of the inbuilt features that we are going to discuss. But one of the best features that we can use, that is we can switch from one model to another model very easily using LangChain. Okay, now for this particular one I'm going to use OpenAI, but as you can see, or maybe in the description you can see that I already mentioned that you can use any model you want. So for example, let's say you're a student, you don't want to spend money, so what you can do, you can absolutely use Gemini. Okay, so this will be the main advantage. So for this one, because I already paid some of the amounts, I'm going to use OpenAI, but we have that capability so that we'll be able to switch from one model to another model. Okay, so first let's do one thing. Let's start with creating our server folder. So I'm just going to do mkdir and let's do server. Now let's clear this. Now let's set up all the things one by one. Now remember, this is not a complete beginner level of project. You should have some of the idea that how we are going to write backend, Node.js backend, right? All those things you need to know, or else this will be a little tricky, right? But if you don't have much idea on the agent side, then this will be a good starting point. Although I tried my best to keep the code very simple, like I can do very complicated flows and everything, but for this one this will be a best start if you are a beginner. So now what you're going to do, first let's do npm init-y, and oh sorry, I done mistake. So first we are going to go to server folder and then I'm going to do npm init-y. Now I already have some of the things that we are going to use. So first of all, let's do one by one. So first of all, let's see what are the things that we are going to use. So first of all, we are going to use LangChain Google Chain AI. This is the package that we need. We are also going to use LangChain OpenAI. Okay. For Scalekit, we will be using Scalekit SDK. So the Node SDK that I'm going to discuss later. Cookie parser we are going to use. Quartz definitely we need to use. .env to manage our env. Express we are going to use. JSON web token. LangChain we need. Now here we don't need Mongoose for now, and then we are also going to use Zod. Now Zod is very important because we are going to handle everything using structured way. So you have a input, structured input, and the concept of structured output that we are going to discuss later, and these all will be our dev dependency. Okay, now all these details you are going to get in the source code that I've added, so you can just download from there, and then you can copy all these things from the notes. So just copy all of these, clear all of this, and let's do installation. In the meantime, we'll just open one more folder, and then here I'll do npm create Vite @latest, and then let's install our client side structure also. So I'm just going to give this our name as client. Now we're going to use React, and we also will be using TypeScript. So this is mandatory. Roll down Vite I don't want to use, so I'll keep this on as no. Install with npm and start now. Yes. So this is going to install this, and in the meantime what we can do, right? So let me just we also need to use Shadcn UI, right? So we need Shadcn UI for our UI component. So let me just quickly open this. Okay, let's go to docs, go to installation. So we are going to use Vite. So this part we have already done, right? npm create Vite this. So next we are going to install the Tailwind CSS and everything. So we are going to do that. In the meantime, let's see if the backend packages are done or not. So I think this is completed. Okay, now let's clear this and let's install the dev dependencies that we need. So let's copy all of this and then paste it here. In the meantime, we'll go here, and then we also need to create a tsconfig.json file. Okay, so this is mandatory, and I already created the tsconfig. So we have the compiler options where we are going to build our code and everything, right? These all are normal concepts. So here I just going to paste it here. So this is what we need. Next, what we are going to do, right? We also need to use some of the scripts that we want to add here. So for now, what I can do, right? So let's remove this test for now, and I'm just going to do a dev script, and here I'm just going to do tsx watch. So you can see they are already coming source/index.ts. So this will be our entry file. Then for build, we are going to use a build. So for this one, I'm just going to do tsc, and also you're going to use a start. So start will be, so you're going to use node/dist/index.js, and here also you are going to use the same. So this will be our main file. So you're just going to paste it here. So now let's go to server and then create our source folder. Okay, now inside server we also need to create our env folder. Now these we are going to add all the envs one by one, but in the meantime let's first complete our Shadcn packages also. What happened here? Oh, something went wrong here, I think. Is it? Okay, so I just deleted that folder. So let's run once again. We need to see what error is happening here. So I'll do create Vite @latest. So we'll just do one more time. So I'll do this one as client. We'll do React, TypeScript, no, yes. Okay, so now I think this is done. There are some different issue, I think. So let's open this. All right. Okay, so I think this is completed. So what will be our next step? Now next step will be, first we'll go one by one. First we need to add all our envs in the backend. So first we'll start with our auth flow. Okay, all right. So first, what are the things that we need? So first we need our port. So this is the port that we are going to run our backend. So we have our backend URL and the front end URL, and also we have our JWT secret and the cookie name. These all are normal concepts that I think most of you already know. So now let's copy these 5 things and then just paste it here. Okay, so this will be inside our backend env. Now next thing, we're going to set up 2 things. So first we're going to set our Scalekit, which we are going to use for our authentication, and also to create our E2E test cases, right? Or our backend test cases, we're going to use TestSprite. So both the things that we are going to set up, and sequentially we're going to integrate. So for Scalekit we need 3 things. We need the env URL, client ID and the client secret. So let's say how we are going to do that. So first let's go to their homepage, and then I also added a link. You can also register through it. It's completely free. Now let's click on start for free, and then you can just sign up. So what I'm going to do, I'll be using Google, and then I'm going to use this particular account. Continue. Alright, so first of all, what we are going to do, so we are going to create a workspace. So I'm just going to give the workspace name as my name. So I'll do Sangam. Let's do taste or whatever. I think Sangam is also fine. So let's create this. Now remember one thing, you have to understand that here most of the authentication method that we are going to use, that is already inbuilt, right? So that Scalekit will provide by default. What we are going to do, we just have to configure that what all authentication methods that we are going to use. Okay, so to do this one, first of all, what you need to do, first you have to go to the authentication. This is the most important part that you need to understand. Later I'm also going to discuss how we are going to use the auth logs and everything, but first let's configure our authentication methods that we are going to use. So you come here, and first of all what you need to do, you have to select the authentication mode. So here, because this is a full stack auth, so I'm going to keep this one as full stack auth here. Now let's move on to the next one, which will be our auth methods. Now here what I'm going to do, right, for this particular project I'm going to use the verification code method. So I'm just going to select this verification code. Now remember, you can experiment with magic link plus verification code also, and I'm going to show you that once you're going to integrate the login page, how it will show once you're going to redirect from our localhost to the Scalekit login page. So this is the first thing. Second, what I'm going to do, I'll go to the social login, and here you can see that I have Google already enabled. Now if you want, you can also try to enable the GitHub and see if you're able to integrate this one or not. So for this particular project we are going to use the Google, and also we are going to use our verification code. Also we need to save this, right? So let's save this one. Okay, so these will be your two methods that we are going to use. Now second or third thing, which is very important, and that is redirect URIs. Now this is very important, because what will happen normally if you have already worked with ACES or all these kind of flows. So let's say you have your app URL, user click on login page, so it will go to the hosted login page. They are going to select the authentication method that they want to choose, and once the authentication is successful, so it will come back to the callback URL. It's going to see, you can see, right, after successful authentication your app receives a callback URL to handle the token exchange, and in that moment we are going to understand whether the user is actually authenticated or not. Okay, so here we are going to add URL, so that we are going to do later once we are going to start implementing. And also you can add the post logout URL, so that means once the user will log out, in which URL you want the user to be redirected. Okay, so this also you can add here. Okay, so this is the first thing. Then you have your organization, so here you can create your new organization. So this we are not covering for this particular video. For this one we are going to just cover on the authentication methods. Okay, and also I'm going to discuss that how we are going to handle roles and permissions also. So now what we need to do, right, we need to actually get three things. So first we are going to get the Scalekit env URL, client ID and the client secret. So first let's go to the settings. Okay, all right, so here you can see that you have the env URL, so this is what you need. So I'm just going to copy this. So first let's copy from here, and this will be your Scalekit env URL, so paste it. Then you have the client ID, copy this, and then I'm just going to paste it here. Okay, now client secret, just create a new secret. I'm not going to show in this particular video. What I'll do, right, I'm going to create a new secret, and then I'm going to paste it here or replace it here, and then we are going to use these three. So copy this, and then you just paste it here, and then replace with the client ID that you have. Okay, so now here what you're going to do, right, that is a different secret, so you don't have to worry about that I'm showing the secret, showing by auto suggestion. So I'm just going to create a new secret, and I'm going to replace the secret with that. So once this is done, the basic setup is completed. Once we'll do the integration or login integration will be done, I'm going to show you that how these auth logs will work, which is very cool. So this is the setup for Scalekit. Now next, for our E2E test cases, we are going to use TestSprite. Okay, and for this one, what we are going to do, right, we are going to use the MCP local server. So let's see how we are going to do that. So for now, we are going to just do the setup because our code is not yet implemented. Once we'll implement our login flow, and then we are going to see practically step by step how we are going to integrate and create your automated or E2E test cases using this. So for now, what I will do, just sign up. So this is completely free. And then once we'll sign up, so for this one also I'm just going to use continue with Google. So I'm just going to select this particular account, continue. Okay, so now first of all what we need, right, so let's go to the dashboard. Now you can see that you can do a lot of things here. Okay, and I'm going to discuss that what are the things that you can do using this, and it will be better instead of explaining now when we are going to implement practically. That time we are going to discuss. But first of all, we need to set up, and for this one we are going to use MCP server so that we can test locally, which is very cool. So for this one, what we are going to do, right, so let's first of all let's click on this test locally MCP. Okay, now here let's go to view docs. Now first of all what we are going to do, right, so let's go to let me just see here, so let's go to installation. Okay, so first requirement is, or prerequisite is, you should have Node.js version which should be greater than or equal 22, and then we are going to get the API key. So I'm going to show you from where you are going to get the API key. So this API key will be getting from here, right, so you have your API keys here. Okay, so just go there, API keys, and then you can create a new API key from your dashboard. So from dashboard settings and API key, so click a new API key, give a name, it's going to give you the API key, and that I'm going to show you that where you are going to replace this particular API key. So we'll go here. First of all, now remember one more thing, that you have to see that which editor you are using, and based on that you can install, right. So for this one we are going to use VS Code, so I'll just click here. Okay, so first what you're going to do, right, we need to open our command palette. Okay, so I'm going to explain all the steps. Then we are going to run MCP add server, and here we have to give the installation type. Okay, and then we are going to run this particular command which is going to add that particular MCP server locally in our VS Code. So let's see how we are going to do that. So first of all, let's copy this line and we'll go here, and I'm just going to do, okay, let's save this. I'm just going to add this one later, and I'm just going to do Control-Shift-P, and you have add server. Okay, and here what you can do, you can actually give that, right. So let me just copy directly from here. So I'm just going to copy this one. Okay, so we'll go here and let's do once again, and I'll do add server, and this will be command, this is run a local command that implement the MCP protocol. So I'm just going to click here, and then I'm just going to add it. Okay, and here you have to give a name, so I'm just going to give this one as TestSprite, enter. And now here what you can do, right, maybe we can keep this one as, no, let's do workspace level only, so that it will be available in this particular workspace, right. So I'm just going to select here, and you'll see that now, awesome, right. So this is now created this MCP config that you need. Okay, now what we need to do, right, to make it work, you have to add your API key. So how we are going to add this? Now to add this API key, you have to add it here. So we have the arguments and args right here, we have our env. So copy this, and then you just have to add it after this, and this will be your API key which you are going to get from here. So just give a name here. For example, I'm just going to give a default, and I'm going to create. Once you'll get the API key, I'm going to replace it here. I hope this is clear, right? Once you'll do that, now that means this should be, the setup will be completed. So with these two things you have to do. First one, you have to get the Scalekit client secret, right. Second, you have to get the TestSprite API key, paste it and save it, and then after that I'm going to show you that what will be our next step. Alright, so I hope you have done those two things that I told, and also if you want to test it, just do Control-Shift-P, and then you will do list server, and you'll see that this should be there, this TestSprite. Later when we are going to implement this, then we are going to see that how we are going to integrate locally, and right, we are going to create all our test cases. Before that, we also now need to get our model API keys, right. So as I already mentioned, if we already have OpenAI API key, feel free to use that. I'm going to use the same. But in case you don't have, just use Gemini. Now remember one more thing, I already get a lot of queries regarding this. You have to be very careful with the users, right? If you are calling the API multiple times, it's going to give you at some time 4 to 9 or this kind of error that you have actually exceeded the users limit. Okay, so for this one, what I'll suggest, you can either use this Gemini, but if you ask me that you want to learn and you are very serious, I will say that you can just spend at least $5 or something, and then you can use this model, right, that we are going to use, that is GPT-4o mini, which is like you can create a lot of projects using this, right? So $5 will be more than enough. In case if you don't want, I already mentioned that you can use Gemini also. So we need these two things for now. So we need OpenAI API key, OpenAI model, okay, and we also need Tavily API key that we are going to discuss later, right? Tavily is like nothing but when we are going to implement our agentic flow, we are going to do real web search to get the result from Tavily. So that we are going to do later. And also we need our E2E test mode equal to true. Why? Because we are going to create our E2E test cases using TestSprite. In that case, we have to write some logic so that it's going to actually test and we won't get any kind of issues related to login flow or testing the login flow. So for now, let's do one thing, copy all these 4 things, and then I'm just going to paste it here. Okay, now once again, what I'm going to do, I will go to my OpenAI dashboard, and here I have the API keys here. So if I go here, right, you'll be getting all your API keys, right? So you can just copy from here, or you can just directly go to your aistudio.google.com/app/API keys, and you can just create an API key and use the same. Okay, so both the options I've given. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy one of the API keys, paste it here, and then we are going to do what? We are going to create our Tavily API key. So with this, our env setup will be completed. Okay, I hope you copied the OpenAI or the Gemini, whatever you want to use, right, to env. And now we need the Tavily API key also, right? As I already mentioned that these will give us real-time search, and we are going to actually crawl the web, and then we'll be getting the result back, right? So these will actually we are going to use to get all the citations. Citations is nothing but the sources, right? So first I'm just going to do login, and now let's get the API key from here also. Okay, so let's do continue with Google. I'm going to select this account. Now I already added the API key, but I just wanted to show you that from where you can add this, right? Okay, so see, very simple, right? It's very easy to use. It will be just redirect to the dashboard page. Just create a API key, copy this, and then paste it in your env. I'm not going to show like I already added here. I hope you got it, right? So these all the envs that we need. Okay, and remember to keep this E2E test mode equal to true. All right. So now the setup is actually completed. So what will be our next step? The next step will be, now we are going to set our setup our Shadcn, right? So for this one, what are you going to do? So first, till this part, this is done. So created the project. So let's start installing the Tailwind CSS. So copy this, and I'm just going to open this, open another terminal, and I'll go to client and then install. Once this is done, then we are going to import the Tailwind CSS in our index.css, right? So let's wait. Okay, so we'll go to client, we go to our, okay, let's create our env folder here. We don't need env for now, we have to add in our index.css, right? Sorry, so we just have to add it here. Okay, so this will be the second step. Third step is we have to add our this compiler options. So let's copy till this part, right? So we have till after references we need to add in our ts config. So we'll go to ts config, right? And we have our references, right? And after this give comma and then just paste it here. Okay, so this is done. Next we have edit tsconfig.app.json, and we have to add our base URL and the path, import path and everything. So we'll just copy this, and here I'll just go here. So do tsconfig.app.json. You have compiler options, right? So after these I'm just going to paste it here, right? So this will be inside compiler options only. Now we have to update the Vite config. What you can do, right, if you haven't touched the Vite config yet, just directly copy this whole part, go here and then just replace it here, because for now you already have the plugin React, so you can just replace it here, right? So you still have the React plugin and the Tailwind CSS. So this will be the fourth step, and then we are going to run our Shadcn CLI. So copy this, and then I'm just going to do clear and then just enter. Now it's going to first check whether you have Tailwind CSS installed or not. If yes, then you are going to get the next instructions. Because why I'm discussing all of this, so you'll do yes, because most of you actually get these kind of issues while installation, right? So you have to understand all these things. Also, you can remove this part from here. So let's see. Awesome. So I'll keep neutral, and now it's going to install. Okay, awesome. So I think this is done. Then we can add the components and everything. So I'm just going to add the button for now. Let's wait for some time. Okay, so this is done. Now let's add the button component just to see if the installation is now completed or not. Okay, so this is done. Now let's open another terminal, and then just go to the client folder, and let's do npm install react router DOM. Okay, so with this, finally our setup is completed. Okay, so now we will start implementing our auth logic first. Then we are going to create our test cases, and then we'll be moving to the agent logic. So let's get started from the next part. Okay, so let's start with our auth integration now. Okay, so first of all, let's go to your dashboard, the Scalekit dashboard. Now let's go to, okay, before that we are going to add the redirect URLs. Okay, so this is very important, right? So I already mentioned that once the authentication is successful, we will be actually receiving a callback URL where we are going to handle the token exchange. So we are going to add URL here. And because our backend is running on localhost 5000, so we're going to add localhost 5000/auth/callback. So copy this, and then you just paste it here. Okay, so this will be the first step. Once you will do that, let's go to the docs. And here what you can do right now, first of all, let's go to the SDK, right? You can use REST APIs, but SDKs are like, you'll be getting some of the things that are already inbuilt, right? So you can just directly import those methods and you can use those. So we are using Node.js, so just click here, and you can see that we already installed the Scalekit SDK/Node package. So this is the first prerequisite that you need to do. Second, what we're going to do, right, we're going to initialize the client, and after this we actually going to use some of the inbuilt methods that is going to do the authentication on behalf of us. Now remember, one thing is very important, and that will depend on the auth methods that you have given here. So that we are going to see once we'll go to the hosted login page, right? So for example, let's say you have chosen passkeys, also social login, right? Also your magic link and verification code. Based on the configuration, your login page will change. So let's do one thing first. Let's start creating the UI for that login page, right? I think that will be the first step that we are going to do. So before that, we also need to do one more thing. Okay, let's go to the client side, and we'll go to the source, and let's create our pages. Okay, and here I'm just going to create our login page. So I'm just going to do login.tsx. okay, so let's start one by one. So first, what I'm going to do, right, so here let's do export default function. So we have login, and here what are you going to do first? So let's return the JSX. I'm just going to do return, and here I'm just going to do div, sorry, so I'm going to div. So let's do a class name. So I'll do mean height screen, and I'm just going to do bg of white, and for now I'm just going to do login page, right? Later we're going to change this, save this. Now we will go to our app.tsx first. So this is what we are going to do, and I'm just going to remove everything from here. Okay, all right, so now let's create our components. I'll do export default function, let's do app, and inside this let's return. So I'm just going to return routes from React router DOM, and inside this first we are going to create one common layout component, so that the navbar and everything we can keep in that component only. So I'm going to take route, and inside this we are going to use the element property, right? So what you can do, right, let's go to source. Inside that we have components, and inside component let's create a common folder. All right, so let's create layout.tsx. okay, so first what are you going to do, right? So for now let's do export default function, and I'm just going to do this one as common layout. Okay, so inside this let's return a div for now, and then I'm just going to give this one as common header. And then what we're going to do, right, we'll be having our main content, where I'm just going to import the outlet component from React Router DOM. And let's give a class name for this one. So let's do this one as relative. So I'll do mx of auto. So I'll do max w6xl, px of 4 and py of 8. Okay, save this. I'll go here, and then we will be actually wrapping or using this particular route with that layout component, so that whenever any nested component will come inside this, so it will be part of this layout component. Okay, so layout is going to render all the child components, all the nested components via outlet component, via this. So take a element, and I'm just going to import common layout. Now after this, what are you going to do? So first I'm going to take a route, and here now we are going to have a path. So this will be /login, and here I'm just going to take an element, and this will be our login page. Okay, so our login. Also I'm just going to, for home page, I'm just going to take one more route. So path will be home or /, and here I'm just going to take element, and let's navigate. So we have the navigate, and I'm just going to navigate to the login page. I'm going to explain later why we are doing this. And we are also going to replace. Okay, and we are also going to take one more, which will be for our not found pages. So I'm just going to take route. So path I'm going to give star, and here I'm just going to give an element, and this is where I'm just going to use a div, and I'm just going to do not found. Okay, so now let's save this. So I'll go here. Okay, the error is coming. Why? Because we have to wrap this with our browser router, and to do this we have to go to our main.tsx file, and I'm just going to remove the strict mode. Okay, I don't need, so I'm just going to remove that, and here I'm just going to use the browser router, and I'm just going to use the app component here. Okay, and also remove this strict mode. Save this. Okay, fantastic. So you can see that we have login page. This is our login page, right? So even if you go to the home page, it will go to the login page. Why? Because until unless user is authenticated, they will always redirect to the login page. Once the user will authenticated, that time what will happen, right? Either try to access the login page, they will still redirect to the support page. Okay, so that we are going to do later. So for now the basic logic is completed. We are not going to do the CSS and everything now. So for now let's create the basic setup. So now what I'll do, right, I'll go to the login page first, and we'll start working on this one, right? So first let's do one thing. So what I'm going to do is, let's remove this for now, or I think this part we can keep. Remove this one from here, and then we will start working on the background. So what I've done, right, I already have the JSX for this background. We are not going to write, so I already created this, right? So I'm just going to copy from here, and then I'm just going to paste it here. Okay, so save this. See, you can see that this background is coming, right? So this is what we are going to use. Now after this we'll start working on creating the component. So I'm just going to take a div. I'll take a class name, so I'll do relative mx of auto. I'll do max w6xl, and I'll do px of 4 and py of 12, 6xl. Now inside this, let's take a div. So I'll do a class name. So I'll do grid gap of 8. For large I'm going to do grid columns of 12, and also I'm just going to do here large items center. Now inside this, let's do one thing. Let's take one more div. I'll do a class name. So I'll do this one as space y of 5. Inside this I'm going to take a div, and here what I'll do, maybe let's take one more span here, and I'm just going to do Agentic support desk, and here I'm just going to do a class name. So I'll do inline block, height of 2, width of 2. I'll do rounded full, and I'll do bg this, maybe let's do 500. And for this div also you're going to take a class name. So I'll do inline flex, items center. I'll do gap of 2. I'll do rounded full, border. Let's do a border slate of 200. I'll do bg white divided by 80, px of 3, py of 1, text access font medium. Let's do a text slate of 700 and let's do a shadow listen. Alright, so now let's see how it is looking. Okay, something we are doing wrong here, let me just check. Oh, this would be 2. Okay, so this is done. So now after this what we're going to do, right, maybe let's take one h1. Now all these things are optional. Okay, I'm just writing all of this so that the UI will look little decent, but you can skip all of this. The main idea will be to implement the auth, right, how we are going to handle the auth and the main agent flow, right. So here I'm just going to take a font, let's do a semi bold, and I'm also going to do a tracking tight, and let's do a text slate of 900. Now inside this I'm just going to do something like let's do try age tickets and let's do draft replies, something like that. So it's going to clear the replies. And also here I'm just going to take one more span and let's do save runs for audit and reuse. And here I'm just going to take a class name, so I'll do block and I'll do text slate of, let's do 700. Okay, so you can see we are getting this. All right, so after this what I can do, maybe, okay, let's render some more things I'm thinking, or maybe we can, okay, let's render some more text so that it will look little nice. I'm just going to take one div here, so let's do a class name and I'm going to do a grid gap of 3, and for SM let's do a grid columns of 2, and inside this let's take one more div, and here I'm just going to do a class name, so I'll do rounded to XL border, and I'll do border slate of 200. I'll do bg white divided by 80, padding of 4, and I'll do a shadow SM. Okay, now inside this let's take one more div and let's do something like structured output, and here I'm just going to take one more class name, so I'll do text SM font, let's do semi bold, and let's do a text slate of 900. Okay, and I think what we can do, maybe okay, let's do one thing, let's take one more here inside this. I'm just going to take one more div and let's do something like category reply and next action, something like this. And here I'm just going to take a class name, so I'll do margin top of 1, and also I'm just going to do text SM and I'll do text slate of 600. Okay, now we can copy this and we'll paste it here. Now for this one I'm just going to do something like get results is as fast as possible, something like that. Okay, and also we'll do call any model you want, call any model you want. Save this. Awesome. So I think this is fine, this should be more than enough, right? What else we need? I think no, I think this, till this part we can close this. Okay, now after this what we're going to do, right, let me just check if I'm doing in the correct place. I'm just going to do a div just to check. Okay, so here what I'll do, right, I'm just going to remove this, so let's take a class name and I'm just going to do a large, and I'll do justify, let's do justify self end, and inside this let's take a div, so I'm just going to do a class name, so we'll do width of full, max WMD, we'll do rounded 3XL, we'll do border, I'll do border slate of 200, I'll do bg white divided by maybe let's do 90, padding of 6, and I'll do a backdrop blur, and inside this also let's take a shadow, right? So let's do a shadow of maybe 2 pixel. Let's see how this will look. Based on that we can change this. Now inside this I'm just going to take one more div, and here I'll take a class name. So I'll do flex items start, I'll do justify between, and I'll do gap of 4. Now inside this what we can do, maybe let's take one more div and let's do here continue to agent. Let's see how this is looking. We'll give a class name, so let's do a text of 2xl, font semi bold, and I'll do text slate of 900. Awesome. I think this is looking good, right? See. Okay, so I think after this, so what we can do, maybe okay, after here or maybe let's go to till this part, right? Okay, after this we can take one more div, and here I'm just going to render the button. So I'm just going to import the button, and I'll just do login. Let's see where this is coming first. Okay, this is coming outside, so we need to do inside. So we'll cut it from here, and maybe after this we can paste it. And also we'll give a class name, so I'll do margin top of 3, and for this one also let's do margin top of 6, and we'll do space y of 3, and here what I'll do, let's do a width, so I'll do class name, so I'll do width of full, and let's save this. Let's see how this is looking. Okay, I got it. Why this is happening, because we have these classes app.css. This we can remove. Save this. I think this Shadcn class name is not taking. I don't know why. So this we need to see. Let's see if we have any. See, that's why. So we need to remove all this. Remove this. Save this. Alright, so something is wrong here still. Okay, we'll remove this one also. Okay, finally. So now we will go here, and then I'm just going to also take, so let's do a cursor pointer. Okay, so I think this should be fine. So now let's save this. Also we need to take one more thing, and that is data test ID. Why? Because we are going to use we are going to write E2E test cases, remember, for our auth flow or for our backend flow. In case you are implementing on the UI side also, let's say you want to check the UI flow also, so this is a good practice to take your data test ID. So for this one I'm just going to take login button. Now remember, for this particular project we are going to use this test sprite to create the E2E test flow for our backend, right? I'm just showing you the way that you can actually implement the UI side also. So that I'm going to discuss, although we are not going to cover each and every use case, that will be like too much, but I'm going to give you a very in-depth idea that how we are going to implement all the test cases. So I think this should be more than enough, right? So you have the continue to agent and then the login flow. Now on click of this we'll be going to the Scalekit login page. Remember, we haven't implemented the header yet, which is fine. Now what we're going to do, right, first we will be implementing our backend auth logic. So now it's time to work on the backend side first. So let's close this. So we'll go to server and then go to source, and now inside this, now we are going to create all the files and everything. So first I'm going to create a root file which will be index.ts. Okay, now let's close everything else, and also I'm just going to create here inside source, I'm just going to create auth folder, and inside auth folder only I'm going to keep all the logic for now. So we need a cookie. Okay, inside this we are going to create a cookie.ts file. We're also going to have our auth routes files. I'm just going to do auth.routes.ts. I'm also going to get our middleware, so I'm just going to do auth.middleware.ts file. Okay, and we are going to create our E2E test cases. Okay, let's do this one later. So first what we are going to do, right, first let's start with our auth routes, which will be our main logic where we are going to initialize everything, right? So first what I'm going to do, right, so let's create our router. So I'm just going to do const router, and this will be router from express. So we're going to import. Now what I'm going to do, right, so let's create a simple function. So I'll do function and I'll do extract env or something. So I'll do extract env, and here I'm just going to get the key, and this will be a string, and here I'm just going to do const, I'll do get value, and this will be process dot env of that key. Okay, and just give a check that if get val is false, so I'm just going to do throw new error, and here I'm just going to do what, missing env, right? So I'll do missing env, and then you can pass the get value here. Alright, or else I'm just going to return this. I'm just going to do return this get value. Oh, I'm doing wrong. So let's take a template literals here. Okay, so this will be a simple function that we need. So first what we are going to do, we are going to create our Scalekit instance, and to do this one we will go here and let's say how we are going to do that. So we'll see, go to overview, and you can see that we are going to use the Scalekit client where we are going to pass the env. You can directly pass here also, but I'm going to show you that how we can use that function. So what I'm going to do, right, first let's create a function, and I'm just going to do make Scalekit, what name they have given. Okay, let's use make Scalekit only, Scalekit, and here I'm just going to do return, do new Scalekit client, right? So here the Scalekit client, and here we are going to pass three things. So first I'm going to do extract env, and here we are going to pass what, so we have these envs, right? If we go here, so we have our Scalekit env URL, Scalekit client ID, and the secret. So let's copy this all three. So we're going to get this, then comma, we have extract env, and then we are going to pass the client ID, and we are also going to pass the client secret. So I'm just going to pass the client secret. Okay, so this is going to create our instance, and it's very simple. So now what we can do, we can simply create our route. So first I'm just going to do router, okay, dot get, so it will go to the / login page. Okay, simple. And then we are going to get our request response, and now what you can do simply, so I'm just going to do let's do a try catch. So I'll do try catch error, and I'm just going to do a raise.status of 500.json, and I'm just going to do maybe success will be false, and then we are going to pass a message, and I'll do that error, something like this. And in this try, what we're going to do, first we're going to get the Scalekit. So I'm just going to do Scalekit, and this will be equal to make Scalekit. And now what we're going to do, simply I'm just going to create a state. So I'll do const state. So for this one, let's do one thing, let's use import crypto package. So I'll do import crypto from crypto, and we are simply going to use this. So what I can do, you can simply use so do create crypto dot, I think we have random bytes, so let's do a 16, and then I'm just going to do toString of hex. Okay, so this is going to create a state. And now what I'm going to do, right, I'm just going to do race.cookie, and I'm going to store a cookie here. Okay, so what I can do, right, maybe I'm just going to directly store here something like this, sp, and then I'll do auth, let's do auth, and then I'm just going to do this one as state, something like this. And here what I'm going to pass, we're going to pass the state, right? And here what I can do, we can actually create one options function here we are going to create. So I'll do cookie option, so I'll do function, and I'll do create, or let's do state cookie options. Now these are actually very important, right? Whatever you are going to use at the end, you have to know all these things. So first I'm going to check if this is prod. So I'll do if the process.env .node env, right? So we have the node env. If this is equal to production, so this we are going to add. In case if it is, then it will be considered as this is a prod environment. So in that case I'm just going to return. So first of all I have HTTP only, so here this will be true, and then we have secure. If this is prod, it will be secure, and I'm just going to do a same site which will be lax as const. Then I'm going to pass the path which will be slash, and also let's give a max age which is also very important, and here I'm just going to give 10 minutes, maybe 10 into, let's do 20 minutes, 20 into 60 into 1000. okay, and I think this is fine. Now what we're going to do, right, so here we are going to pass this state cookie options. Okay, so this is done. Now what we need to do, we need to create the redirect URI, right? Redirect URI is the URI that we have actually configured here, right? So we have the redirect URI here. So now what we can do, we can simply just create, so I'll do const, I'll do redirect URI. So we are simply going to do, so let's take, so we're going to call this extract env of, and remember we have this backend URL, see this one, so I'm just going to get this, which is going to get our this env. So I'm going to get the backend URL, so it will give me the value, and then what you have to pass, can you guess? So you have to pass /auth /callback. Okay, alright, so now after this what I will do, we are going to create our authorization URL where we are going to redirect the user. So I'll do authorization URI, or let's do URL, and this will be, so we'll do Scalekit. And now here if you go to this method, so let's go to the doc, and you'll see that we have this get authorization URL. So this is what we need, where you have to pass the redirect URI and the scope we need to pass along with the state. So scope, here we are going to pass this default, OpenID, profile and email, these three things. So what you can do, right, you can copy this part from here, and I'm just going to do Scalekit dot get authorized URI, URL, and here we're going to pass the redirect URI, and let's pass the scope here. So I'm just going to do scopes, so paste it here. Okay, now next what we are going to do, okay, we have to convert with this, and also we have to pass our state. So I'll give comma, and we're going to pass the state here. Okay, so this state that we have created, and at the end what you will do, simply you'll just do res dot redirect, and you're going to redirect the user to this authorization URL, as simple as that. Okay, so this will be the first flow. What will be the second flow? Second flow will be when the user will do the login, whatever they want to do using Google or using OTP, they'll come back to the callback page. Okay, and in that callback page, now we are going to see if the user is actually authenticated or not, and based on that we are going to do certain operations. Okay, so how we are going to do that? So first of all, let's create this will be simple. So I'll do router.get, and here I'm just going to use this one as callback, and here what I'm going to do, simply I'll do async. So I'll do request response, so I'll do try catch, right, and here we are going to just use this only. Okay, now so what will happen, right, when the user will be authenticated, we are going to get the code, state, and in case if there is any error, that we are going to get in our query params. Okay, so from our query params we'll be able to extract those values. Okay, if there is any error, so we'll be able to understand. So in that case we can redirect the user to a particular login error page, where they will clearly understand, okay, some error happened during login. So to do this, first what are you going to do, right, so let's do one thing. Let's create a simple function. Maybe let's go to the top, and I'm just going to do function, and let's do here get query string, and here I'm just going to do value, and I'm just going to use unknown. And what I'll do, right, so I'm simply going to check that if this type of value, if this is equal to string, so I'm going to return the value back, as simple as that. What else? I'm just going to return undefined if this is a different kind of type. So this will be the first step. So now we are going to get three things. Also while debugging we'll see that how actually this is happening. For now first we need to implement, or else you won't be able to test it. So I'll do get query string, and this we are going to get from our request dot query dot code. Okay, so this will be the first step. Second, copy this, paste it here, and then we are going to receive our state. So this will be from our query state. paste it, and then you're going to get in case any error. So you're going to get the error here. Okay, so first we're going to check that if error occurred. So in that case, I'm just going to return res.redirect, and maybe let's do this one. Okay, what I can do, right, we can do like this. So I'm just going to do extract env, and we can pass the front end URL, so we can redirect the user to a error page. So I'm just going to pass here this, and then after this I'm just going to do here /login, and I will do equals, and here what I can do, we'll do encode URI component, and here we're going to pass a message, and for this message what we can do, we can just take, okay, let's pass this error only here. We'll directly pass this error only. Okay, so this is going to redirect the user if there is any error. If we don't have the code, or if the state is not present, so that time also we're going to return an error. So I'll do res.status of 400.json. Now let's do direct send. So I'll do send, and I'm going to do missing code or something. Okay, and now what I'm going to do, I will be getting the expected state back. How? Using our cookie. So we have the cookie that we have stored, right? You can, if you want, you can put this one in your in a const also. So for now what you can do is just simply going to do extract state, or maybe let's do expected state. So I'll do expected state, and this will be equal to request dot cookies, right? And here I'm just going to use that. So let's use this value, right? So the value that you use, sp auth state. Okay, so this is done. Now I'm just going to do, if this is false, right, or what you're going to do, we'll do if this is not equal to the state that we actually received from our callback. If this is not matching, means what, the user is actually not authenticated properly, means it can be an invalid state. So I'll do status of 400, and let's do dot send, and I'm just going to do invalid state. Okay, so I think this is done. Now what I'm going to do simply, so here first of all let's do res.clear cookie, and I'm just going to clear this, and also I'm going to pass the state cookie options, and here I'm just going to again take our Scalekit instance. So I'll do make Scalekit, and here I will do the redirect URI. So I'll do const redirect URI, and this will be equals, so we have the extract env, of, so here we are going to pass this the backend URL, right? So we have the backend URL, and here I'm just going to do /auth/callback, and here I'm just going to do const, so I'll do auth result. So now I'm going to get the result. So let's give a type. The type will be, so you're going to use this authentication response from Scalekit. Okay, so this is going to give you the data back. So you have the user ID token and everything that we are going to see also. Okay, so you're going to console this. So I'm just going to do Vite, and I'm just going to do Scalekit dot, and now you can see that if you go here, right, you'll see that you have something called authentication with code. Okay, so this is what you need. Okay, so here I'm just going to do Scalekit.authentication with code, and here you're going to pass the code. Code is the code that you're receiving, and you have to pass the redirect URI also. So if you go here, right, you will see that you can pass the redirect URI, and if there is any option, so you're going to pass the code. So pass the code and the redirect URI. Oh, what I've done. Something I've done. Oh, I just copy the whole thing. This is not needed. So code and the redirect URI. Okay, so these two things. So now we are also going to log this so that later we can check. Okay, so I'm just going to log the auth result here, and also I'm going to log the code here, so you can test this part. Now what I'm going to do simply, so I'm just going to check that if not equal to auth result dot user, that means user is not authenticated. So I'm just going to do return. So I'll do res.status of 500.send, and I'm just going to do Scalekit user is missing, or user info is missing. Okay, so I think this is done. And now what I'm going to do, right, so let's create okay, let's do one thing. Let's create a method here now in this cookie. So maybe let's create a function. So I'll do export function and I'll do set session cookie, and here what I'll do, I'm just going to get the res, which will be response, which will be from express, and also I'm going to get a user, which will be session user. So I'm just going to create this type. So I'll do session user. So let's create this. So copy this. So I'll do export type session user. So I'm going to get an ID, which will be string. This will also have an email, which will be string, and also it's going to have a name, which will be string. So now I'm just going to create a token. So I'll do const token, and here okay, we also need the JWT. So I'm going to do is import star as JWT from, so we have our JSON web token, right? So this is what we need. So I'm just going to do JWT, and we can do sign. I think this you already know. We can pass the user, and here what I can do, right, we also need the session secret. So we can do process.env dot, so you have the session secret, right, this one. Okay, and now what I can do, simply we can also pass some property here. So let's pass an algorithm of, let's do HS256, and I'm also going to do expires in 7 days. Okay, so this is going to create the token, and now I'm just going to do res.cookie, and here what I can do, cookie name we can use, right? We already have the cookie name, this one, session cookie name. So I'm just going to do cookie process.env dot cookie name, and we have to pass the token, and also let's pass some options, right? So here what I'm going to do, so let's create a cookie options. So I'm just going to create a function here. So the function, let's do cookie options. So I think we have already done some of the, let's copy from here. So copy this, paste it here. So HTTP true, SQL same site path, these we don't need, so we'll remove this. So these 4 things, and here what I'll do, simply we are going to spread this here. So I'm just going to spread the cookie options, and let's give a max age, maybe let's do 7 days. So 7 means 7 into 24 into, it will be 60 into 60 into seconds, right, 1000. Okay, so this will be 7 days. So this is going to set the cookie. Okay, also let's create one more, we actually need it, so we can create now only. So I'll do export function, I'll do clear session cookie. So I'll do res, and this will be response, and here I'm just going to do res.clear cookie, and this will be the cookie name, which will be this, and what I can do, we can pass the cookie options. That's it. So I think this should be fine. What else? Okay, if needed, then we are going to write it later. So I think this is done. So now we can save this. We'll go here. So go to the callback. So okay, till this part, if the user is present, so I'm just going to do set session cookie. So you have to pass the response, which will be your response, and also you have to pass what we are going to pass, the user information. So I'm going to pass the ID. So ID will be auth result dot user, see, dot ID, correct? So this Scalekit will provide, you have the email, and this will be auth result dot user dot email. Then you have the name, which will be auth result dot user dot name. Okay, I hope this is clear. And at the end you are going to do return res dot okay, we can directly redirect. So do res dot redirect, and here what I'm going to do, I'm simply going to do extract env, and I'm just going to do the front end URL, right? So take the this, and we can redirect to the support page, means when the user will be authenticated, we'll redirect the user to the support page. So this will be our callback logic that we need. Now let's create 2 more. So here I'm just going to create one for to get the user profile information. So I'm just going to do router.get, this will be /me, and here also we need to create our middleware, which is very, very important. So we'll go to our auth middleware. So first of all, let's import some of the type here. So first I'm going to import all this from Express. So I need the response, sorry, I need the request, I need the next function, and also I need the response. 3 things. Okay, so first of all let's do a declare global, and here I'm just going to use a namespace which will be Express, and here what I'll do, right, I'll simply use a interface which will be request, and then we are going to attach our user information in this request. Okay, and this user information is nothing but your session user that we have created in our cookie file. Okay, so now what we can do, we can create our authentication middleware which will be export function, and let's do here require auth. So this will be request which will be request, then we have response which will be response, and then we have the next which is our next functions to call our next middleware, normal Node.js concept. Here first of all I'm going to do user, and now what I'll do, right, so let's create one more method in this cookie. So go here and I'll do export function, and I will do read session cookie, because we need to actually decode the user information to understand if the user is actually authenticated or not. So I'm going to take the request, so here I'm going to get a cookies. So here what I can do, right, we'll just use a record of string string, and here first of all what I will do, I'm just going to do the token, and this will be request dot cookies, and here we're going to pass the cookie name. So cookie name I think we have used, what is the cookie name that we have used? Oh, okay, this one. So you can simply pass this, right, so this cookie name you can directly pass it here. Now remember one thing, you have to always give extra check here. First of all let me just, I think this is correct only. Okay, this is correct. So first of all always give always give here check that if the token is not present, return null. Okay, you have to cover all these edge cases. Then you will do a try catch, and in the catch just return null, and in the try what you will do, right, you have to now do the decode that user information, and you're going to decode using JWT. So we'll do JWT, this will give you verify, but how you're going to decode? So you have to decode using what? So you're going to decode using your token and your session secret. I hope this is clear, right? Now remember, session secret is your JWT secret. Okay, so here what you're going to pass, you're going to pass the token, and you're going to do a JWT secret which will be this one, right? So you have the session JWT secret. Here I'm just going to do process.env dot session JWT secret, and here this will decode as session user, because at the end it's going to give you the user information back, and at the end you're going to just return the decoded. Okay, so this is done. Now what we can do, right, now we are going to call this here, not here, go to middleware. So first I'm going to get the read session cookie, and you're going to pass the request. Okay, and here now we are going to simply check if not equal to user means what? User is not authenticated. So you're going to return raise.status of 401.json and just return error which will be unauthenticated, and or else you're just going to do here. Now you see if I do request dot, and we'll see if I do u, and see you're getting this user. Why? Because we have actually attached this user information into our request. So now we'll do request.user which will be your user, this one. And now what you have to do, very important, always call the next middleware. So you have to call the next method, or else it will never call the next middleware. Okay, this is mandatory. See, these all I'm not explaining and going first because these are normal Node.js concept. If you don't know, you have to understand all these things. I hope this is clear. So now what we can do, simply we'll go here. Now these will now protect using your middleware, right? So I'm just going to call require auth, and then I'm just going to pass request response, and you can simply just pass res.json, and I'm just going to do here maybe we'll just pass a user information. Inside this I'm going to do id. Now I'll do request.user, right, and this is going to give you .id. Then you're going to pass the email which will be request.user.email, and you'll do the name also. So you'll do request.user.name. Okay, so this is going to give you the auth user information, and at the end we'll take one more, which will be export default, and not export default one, what I'm doing. So we'll do router dot post, and this will be / logout, and here also we're going to get request response. And what we can do, we can simply have this clear session cookie. Remember, we have created this from our cookie, and you can pass the response here. And then I'm just going to do res.json, and we'll do okay will be true. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to export this router. So I'm just going to export this here. So I'll do export default router. Okay, so I think this is done. So now what will be our next step? Next step will be, we'll go to our index.ts, and we'll now create our main file, because until unless we're going to create this, it's not going to work. So first of all, let's import a couple of things. So first I'm going to do .env from .env. We also need express, so I'll do express from express. Okay, then we need the chords, so I'm going to input chords from chords. We also need the cookie parser, so I'll do cookie parser from cookie parser. Okay, now what I'm going to do simply, so I'll just do async function main. So first of all, I'm going to call the .env. Oh no, this will be .env. So I'll do .env .config. Then I'm just going to create the express app. So I'll do const app, and this will be express. And here what I'll do, so I'll do app.use. So first what we're going to use, we're going to use the chords, very important. And here we're going to pass the origin. So for now, what I'm going to pass, right? So let's pass the origin as so I'll do process.env. No, let's directly pass this, right? We're going to change this one later. We'll copy this, and I'm going to keep this one 5173 directly, and we have to pass the credentials will be true. Okay, next we are going to use our express JSON middleware, okay, to parse. Then we are also going to use the cookie parser, or else you can't work with cookies, right? So this all we need. Now what we're going to do, right? So let's create a status endpoint to check the health of your backend. So I'm just going to do app.get. So I'll just do a status, and I'm just going to do request response, and let's do res.json, and I'm going to do okay is true, and I'm going to do status is up. Okay, so now what are you going to do next? So we'll be using app.use. So I'll do auth, and we're going to import the auth router. So I'll do import auth router from so we'll go to auth/auth routes. So I'm just going to pass this auth router here. Okay, so I think this is done. Next what we're going to do, simply we'll do const port. So this will be number of process .env.port, or else this will be 5000. And then I'm just going to do app.listen, which will be port, and here I'm just going to pass the let's do a log here only, right? Not keep, I think let's do server is now running. Server is running on port, okay, 5000, something like this. Okay, I think this would be more than enough. Okay, so this is done. Now this is not yet completed, because we have to call this main method. So I'm just going to do main, and let's do a catch. So if there are any errors, so you're going to just log this, right? So I'm just going to do error, not this one, we need this error. Okay, so I'll just do server error occurred. And also we need to exit from the process. So I'll do process.exit of 1. So a lot of things we have done. So now I think our backend is completed for our auth part, but we need to test it, right? So we are going to go here, not this one. Let's close all this. Okay, so let's go to cd server, and I'm just going to do npm run dev. If there are any error, you'll see, or else this should be up and running. Fantastic. So server is now running on port 5000. So with this, the backend logic of auth is completed. So let's implement the front end part. After that, we'll start creating our test cases, first E2E test cases, and then we'll move to implementing the agent. Alright everyone, so now let's start working on the client side. So first thing what we're going to do, right, we will be creating a API util files. So let's go to lib folder, inside source. So I'm inside the client directory, and here I'm just going to create api.ts. okay, and let's close everything else for now. First of all, what we'll do, right, we'll go to env and let's add a Vite backend URL. okay, and these will be, so let me just go here, I'll copy this, paste it here, and this will be 5000 because our backend is running on 5000. okay, so first what I'll do export const, and let's do this one as backend URL, and this will be import .meta.env this Vite backend URL. okay, so this will be the first thing. Now what I will do, right, I'm going to create a, so these type of logic, right, that whatever we are writing you can use in any project, right? It's like we are creating a generalized API response where what you can do, right, for example, let's say you have some get API call or post or put or delete, you can use this so that you don't have to write the same logic again and again, right, without using any third-party library packages. So here I'm just using, let's do this one as API response, and what I'll do right here, I'm going to pass a let's do a t data, something like this. Now let's keep this one small only, we'll keep a generic, and I'm just going to make this one as unknown. okay, and here let's give okay, this will be boolean, then I'm just going to do a status which will be number, and also I'm just going to do data which will be this t data. okay, now what I'll do, I'm just going to create an async function request, and we'll do the same thing, right, and we'll paste it here. Now what I'll do simply here, okay, first of all we are going to receive a path as a input which will be string. We're also going to receive a init property, let's do this one as I'm just going to do this one as request init, and what else we can take, I think this should be fine. What this is going to return, so I'm going to take a promise, and here I'm just going to pass the API response and API response of this t data. okay, now what we can do, simply we can actually write all the response logic, everything, or the fetch we can call from this particular function. So I'll do const response, and now I'm just going to do await and then call fetch, and here I'm just going to pass the backend URL, and what you have to pass, the path, right? So making a common logic. And now here what you can do, first of all you pass any of the init, we just spread it, pass the credentials which will be include, and then we are also going to pass a headers. So headers also, first I'm going to just so I'm just going to do init, we are already doing, so we'll do init dot headers if any, or else this will be empty object. And also I'm just going to do the same for bodies. I'll do init dot body if it is present, and here I'm just going to do, for now let's do a content hyphen type which will be application/json, or else I'm just going to do empty object. okay, so this will be our response. Now I'll do const text, and this will be await response dot text, and then I'm just going to do a let data, let's do type will be unknown, which will be equal to null. Now what I'll do, simply I'll do try catch, and I'm just going to do here data equal to text, and in this try I'm just going to do data will be if text is present, so I'm just going to do json dot parts of this text, or else this will be null. okay, and at the end I'm going to return, so return okay, so this will be if res dot okay, then I'm just going to return a status which will be if res dot status, and also I'm going to return the last will be data. Now here it is very important, the data will be this data, but you have to pass the data type. okay, so here your data type will be what, can you guess? Now these all are TypeScript concepts. You need to know all these things. This will be as T data. Okay, so now this is your generalized request function that you have created. So now you'll see how much easier it will be. So what you can do, right, you can simply create a function. So I'll do export function, and I'm just going to do API get something like this, and here I'm just going to pass T data. Let's do this one is equal to unknown. This is going to receive what path, right, from which path I want to call the API, and then you just have to return the request just now we have created. Here you're going to pass the T data, and what you have to pass, you have to pass the path. So you're going to pass the path, and what you have to pass, the init. In the init you have to pass a method. So method will be get. That's it. You don't have to do anything else, and I think this is fine, right? We can also do API request if you want. API request is fine. So do API request, API common request. So I'll just call this here, right? And then what else? We'll do one for post. So I'll do export function. So I'll do API post, and here I'm just going to do same T data equal to unknown, and here I'm just going to pass the path, which will be string, and also you're going to pass a body, and then we are going to simply call this. So I'll call API common request of this T data, and we're going to pass the path, and here we're going to pass the method. So method will be post. Also you have to pass the body, which is important, right? Body will be if body is present. So this body that we are receiving, if this is present, so you just do json.stringify of this body, or else this will be undefined. Same you can do exact same for put, whatever options, delete, whatever method you have, you can add all of this here. So this is the first prerequisite that we need to do. Now what will be our next step? Next step will be, first let's do one thing. We also need to create our layout component that we haven't created, right? So let's go there. So we'll go to components, common layout. So let's first complete this one, or else it will be difficult because we have to check the login and logout logic. So first here let's start from here. So I'm just going to do a class name. So I'll do mean height of screen, and I'll do bg of white, and inside this let's remove this. What we can do, so let's take a div. So I'll take a class name, let's do here fixed, and I'll do inset of 0. Inside this I'm going to take a div, and here I'll take a class name. So I'll do absolute, I'll do minus top of 28. In case you are thinking this, I already have created all this, right? We don't want to spend much time, so I'm just taking the reference from there, all these CSS. Again, I already mentioned, if you want, you can absolutely ignore this part, right? You can directly go to the main the E2E test cases generation or the login flow, or you can directly go to the support also, right, where we are going to actually implement the agentic logic if you don't want to write all these CSS. Again, for these also I will suggest you have my code also, right? You can just directly download the code and then just copy paste. You're absolutely fine. Only if you have already experience, right? If you don't have experience, then I think you should actually write all this. So I'll do bg linear 2r, then I'll do from indigo, let's do 200 divided by 35, and I'm just going to do via sky 200 divided by 30, and I'll do 2 mred 200 by 25, and I'll do blur of 3x. Okay, so you see we are getting this. Fantastic. So now after this, what you can do, you have to create the header. So I'm just going to take a header. So I'll take a class name. So this will be sticky, and I'll do top of 0. So we start from the top, z of 20, border bottom, let's do border slate of 200, or let's do 300, bg white divided by 80, and I'll do backdrop blur. Now inside this we'll take a div, we'll take a class name. So we'll do mx of auto, we'll do flex height of let's do 16, max width of 6 xl, let's do item center and gap of 4, and I'll do px of 4. Now inside this we are going to render the link, so import the link from React router DOM. Okay, and here we are going to pass the to property, so we'll do 2, so it will go to the home page. Now inside this, let's take one more div, so we'll do a class name. So I'll do here flex item center and gap of 3, and we have to render the icon, so let's take one more div. Inside this I'm going to add sparkles, so I'll do a class name, so the height of 4, width of 4. Oh, we have to give let me just see why it's not coming. You have to restart, I think. Let me just restart this. So do npm run dev. Again something is wrong. Oh, I have to go to the client folder. See, now we'll do npm run dev. Okay, we are getting this. Okay, but okay, we have to give some style here also, so let's give a class name. So the flex height of 9, width let's do 8, width of 8, we'll do item center, justify center, we'll do rounded to XL, I'll do BG linear to R. I think we can use maybe let's do BG. Okay, from let's do from indigo 500, and I'll do to sky 500. Let's do 600. Text I will do white, and let's do a shadow of async. Okay, fine, I think this is done. Okay, after this what I'll do, so let's take one more div, and here inside this I'm going to take one more div, and let's do this one as support planner, and here I'll do a class name, so I'll do text sm, font semi-bold, tracking tight, and I'll do text slate of 900. Okay, save this. I think this is fine, right? I think this should be fine. Let's do md. Okay, now after this link, what we can render, we have to render the logout and those logic also. So for now what I'll do, right, so for now let's take a div, and here I'm just going to do a class name, so I'll do email of auto, and I'm just going to do flex, I'll do item center, and I'll do gap of 2, and inside this for now let's render a button component, and I'm just going to do logout. Okay, and here I'm just going to, okay, let's save this, let's see how this is looking. So we have the logout. Okay, fine, we have to add some logic, but that we can't write until unless we're going to we implement our context logic that we need to implement. Also first let's go here, so let's do one thing, maybe let's go to source, and here I'm going to create, let's do a context, and let's do auth.tsx. Okay, so here we are going to write our context logic. So first I'm going to take a type, so this will be user. So user is going to have the ID, email, and the name, remember. So you have the ID, which will be string, we have the email, which will be string, we are also going to have the name, which will be string. Now we'll take a type, which will be me response, and me response type will be what, so we're going to get a user, which will be type of this user. Okay, why, in case you're getting confused, if you go to server source, and then we'll go to the auth, where we have written auth routes. So you see that what we are returning this user and then all this, right? So this will be the me response, and now I'm going to create the context. So I'll do auth context val or something. So here I'm going to get the user. So user will be either it will be user or it will be null. This is the first thing. I'm also going to take a loading, which will be boolean, and also I'm going to take a logout functionality we need to implement, which will just function which will return promise of void. So now what we are going to do, first we'll be creating our context. So how we are going to create the context? So we'll do auth context, and to create auth context we are going to use create context from React, and you have to pass the type. So type will be auth context value or null, and we have to give the initial value which will be null. React concept, right? I'm not going to explain all of this. So here I'm just going to do export function, and I'll do auth provider. What this is going to receive, this is going to receive the children, right? Children means all the child components. And what the type of these children will be, this will be react.react node, remember. So we'll do react.react node. Okay, now what we are going to do first, what this is going to return. So what actually this is written, your provider is going to return the provider, right? So your context provider, so we'll do dot provider, and this is going to receive these children. Okay, now here what you have to pass, you have to pass the value, which is mandatory, right? So what value we are going to pass here? So here we are going to pass three values. One will be the user information, the loading if it is true or false, and the logout method that we are going to call from our layout component, from this component. So we're going to pass the user that we are going to take, we're going to pass the loading, and we're also going to pass the logout. Okay, so how we are going to create? So now let's take this. So I'm just going to do const, so we'll do user set user, and this will be use state. So use state of what? This will be user, or this will be null, and initial value will be null. Then we have same for loading, so do const loading set loading, and this will be use state of true. Okay, and now what we are going to do, simply we are also going to take one more function which will be our logout. So I'm just going to do async function, this will be logout, and here we are going to do something. For now we are not calling. So what we need to do here, what will be the first step? The first step will be, let's save this. So I'm going to create a let's do one thing, right? I'm just going to create a hook here. So I'm just going to do export function, and I'm just going to do use auth. Okay, so that we don't have to call the auth context multiple times. So I'm just going to create the context here. So I'll do context val or something, and this will be use context of this auth context. Okay, and then just give a check here if the context val, sorry I got a call, that's why I need to pause. Okay, so here what I'll do, right? So I'll just throw a new error, and okay, so I'll just do use auth must be used inside provider or something like this. If this is not the case, so in that case we can simply return the context. So I'm just going to return the context val. Okay, so this is done, and I'm also going to create one more component here which is going to work as a route protect, right? For example, let's say if whenever I'm going to go to the support page, if the user is not authenticated, the user will be redirected to the login page. Okay, so I'm just going to do here export function auth guard, right, or gate or whatever, maybe let's do auth gate, right? Now here this is also going to receive a children, right, and children also will be, this type will be this React node. So here I'm just going to pass children, which also will be React node. So how we are going to check it? So first of all, see, now we can call this use auth. Okay, first of all this hook that we have, and this is going to give me the user and the loading information. Okay, now what I'm going to do, right, I'm just going to do navigate, and I'll do use navigate from React router DOM, and also I'm just going to do location, which will be use location to get the current location. Now what I can do, simply I'm just going to take a use effect. So I'll take a dependency. Now remember, dependencies are very important, so I have to take the loading as a dependency, navigate as a dependency, user as a dependency, right? So we have the user, right? User as a dependency, and we have the location. Now this location is going to give you the path name, because your path name will change, right? So whenever this path name will change, you have to call this user vector, or this user vector should be triggered. So now I can simply check that, oh, if this loading is false, means currently loading is not happening, and if the user information is also not there, so that means what? That means the user is not authenticated. So what I'll do, I'll just navigate this user to which page? Login page, means you have to log in. Okay, and here I'm just going to use a replace property. I'm just going to do true, right? And here you can also pass a state property, and you should pass from, right? From which page you are actually coming. So from, I'm just going to do location dot path name. Okay, so this will do the job. Now after this, I'm also going to do, let's say, if not equal to loading, so I'm just going to return a div, and I'm just going to do checking session, something like this, right? And I'm just going to do if not equal to user, I'm going to do return null. If this is nothing is happening, that means we can simply return that component. So I'm just going to return the children here. Okay, so with this is completed. So now next step, what we are going to do, this is not going to work because we haven't used our context yet. So go to our main.tsx, and we have to wrap this in our context. So here I'm just going to use the auth provider, and we are going to wrap this. Okay, so now this should be done. Next thing what we are going to do, first let's go to the okay, which page? Okay, we have to go to the pages. Okay, let's go to the pages, and I'm going to create our support page. Okay, so I'll do support.tsx. so I'm just going to do export default function, and I'll do support page, and I'll do return, and I'm just going to do support page. Okay, I'll see what is happening. Save this. Now I'll go to our app.tsx, and I'm going to just create one more here, and this will be my support, and this will be my support page, right? So we have the support page, which is fine. Now let's do this on support only. So let's import this, save this, and now if I go to the support page, so this is coming. But now how we are going to make this particular page as a protected page? And to do this, what you can do, right, you can go here, and now first of all path will remain same. In the element, you just have to wrap this with your auth get. So do auth get, and then just pass it here, right? Save this. Okay, currently nothing is happening here. Okay, let me refresh this. We have to add one more logic. We have to call the API that we haven't done yet. So first let's do one thing. Let's go to the context ones first, because we haven't used the set this all this, right? So to do this, first we are going to use a use effect. Okay, so we'll take empty dependency, and here I'm just going to call async function to fetch user. Okay, so first of all I'm just going to do what I can do, right? We already have the set loading as true, so you don't have to do it. So you just have to take const response, and this will be await, and this will be API get, and here you have to pass the type, right? So remember, so this will be our me response, and now you have to call /auth/me. Why? Because that is the endpoint that we are using here, right? This one. So you have /auth/me. So you have /auth/me. Now what I'm going to do, simply I'm just going to do if res.ok. So in that case I'm just going to do set user, and this will be res.data.user. all right, else the set user will be null. Okay, and also what you can do, you can simply make the set loading as false, and also at the end we have to call this fetch user. So we're going to call this. So save this. See, it's going to the login page, right? It's very simple. I'll go to the let's go to the network page. Now I'm going to go to the support page. so it's 401, so it's unauthenticated, so we'll be going to the login page. So this is the most clean way you can implement, right? So now everything is ready. So what will be the next step? Also one more thing, let's do it. Logout will be pretty simple. What you have to do, right, you'll do await API post, because if you go here, right, go to the auth routes, you'll see that we have router.post and this is the logout. So we'll do API post and just call /auth/logout, right? And what you can do is simply make the set user will be null. That's it. Okay, so this is completed. So now what will be our next step? Next step will be, now we'll go to our layout page, and here I'm just going to get a couple of things. I'm just going to get from our use auth. So we'll get the let's take the loading, we'll also take the logout, right? And what I'll do, also we'll take the user if we need it. So first I'm going to create so I'll do async function, I'll do on logout, and I'll simply call this await and call this logout function, and then I'm just going to navigate the user. So I'll do const let's do navigate, and this will be use navigate, and I'm just going to do navigate. I'll navigate the user to the login page, something like this, and let's call this here. So I'm just going to do on click, so I'll call on logout. I think this is done. Okay, also we have to give a condition here now, that when you are going to show this logout, right? Currently if you see this logout you are showing all the time, we are going to show this if not equal loading and, right, if the user information is present, that means user is logged in, then only we are going to show this logout, or else you are going to show null, right? So save this. See, it's not showing now. Okay, so we have the login. So now we are going to implement the login logic, and this is very simple. Why? Because we already have the logic and everything ready. We just have to call this endpoint. Which endpoint? This endpoint here, this login endpoint, which is going to redirect the user to the login page. So we'll go to the login page, and what I can do, right, simply, so first let's take a couple of things here, that if the user is already logged in and if you try to access the login page, what will happen? You will redirect to the support page. So those things we need to do, right? So first I'm going to take the navigate, which will be use navigate, and then also you're going to take the user from our use auth, and also I need the loading also, right? So let's take the loading also. So I'm just going to give one condition, that if use effect, and let's give a loading dependency, user as a dependency, and also do navigate. And here what I'll do, simply I'm just going to check if not equal to loading and if user information is already present. So what I'll do, right, I'll just do navigate. So I'll navigate the user to the support page, that is the first thing, and then I'm just going to do replace will be true. Okay, so this is the first logic. If one more thing, if the user information is not present, so you're not going to render nothing. Sorry, if user information is present, if user is present, then we are going to return null. Why? Means when user information is present, we are redirecting the user to the support page. So in that time, if some kind of flickering is happening, so what will happen? We are not going to show anything. So it will be very clean. I hope this is clear, right? And also if you just do if loading is true, so I'm just going to return, and for now I'm just going to do checking session. Okay, and I think this would be fine. So let's give a class name. I'll do text small, and I'll do text, I think text small is fine. Save this. So I think this is done. So now next step, what we're going to do, right, we need to redirect the user to the login page. So how we are going to do that? To do this one, it's very simple. So just going to create a function. So I'll do function, I'll do on login, and I'm just going to do window.location.href, and this will be equal to, so we have our backend URL, right, and this will go to which page. Now you can relate all this. So to go to /auth/login, right, so it will go to /auth/login page. Okay, so copy this, and now we will just call this here. So I'm just going to do on click on login. Okay, and I think this is done. So now let's save this. Now we will go to the, let's see what is happening here. Okay, so I'm just going to click here. That's it. So you're getting passkey also, which is fine. Now remember, this is hosted by Scalekit also, right? It's very cool. So you can log in with Google, log in with passkey, also with email address. What will happen if you put your email, continue, it will give you a OTP and you can use that particular OTP. I hope this is clear, right? So for now, what I'm going to do, right? So I'm going to give my OTP only here. So I'm going to give my different email. Okay, so I'll do this. Okay, so I will do continue. And now I'm going to check my OTP in my phone. So let me just quickly check it. Okay, I got the OTP. So this is 366625. Okay, now I'll do continue and see. That's it. So that means this is working. So this part we need to check, checking session from where this is coming. Now you see in this one you're getting your ID and email, right? So this is working fine, right? Name is optional, which is fine, but ID and email is working. And we go to application, go to your cookies, and you'll see that you'll be getting the cookies stored here. And now if you try to access the login page, see, you're going to the support page, right? So this is working fine. Now this is already handled. And if you try to log out now, see, login. And now if you try to go to the support page, you're in the login page. Fantastic. This is clean, very clean, right? Whatever you have implemented. So with this, the this login part is done. So now let me just do it here in this one. So I'm going to log in now. Now I'm going to use my Google. Okay, I'm going to use this account. This is already there, so I'm going to use this. Okay, so you're in this page and you can see that you will be getting the name also, ID and email. So this is working fine. And even if you refresh this, it will be in this page only, right? This part we need to check from where this is coming. So with this, we have successfully implemented our login flow, right? So now what will be our next step? Next step will be, we will start working on our TestSprite. So we're going to create our E2E test flow for our backend logic, right? For our auth flow. Mainly we'll be working on the auth flow. So let's see how we are going to do that, and then we'll be moving to our support task. Alright, so now we are going to create our E2E test cases for our auth flow. Before that, let's fix this, right? And this is coming, I will show you why. So let's go to the context and you'll see that we have given that if not equal to loading, so it will show this. Instead, it will be when loading will happen, that time we are going to show, so it will be opposite. So if you save this, right, now you'll see that we'll be getting this, right? Refresh this, so you're getting this. And let's see if I go to the login page, support page, try to log out and log in again. Okay, so this is done. Now first of all, let's see that how we are going to do the testing. Okay, so first let's go to the home and let's see their docs. Okay, so I'll go to view docs, and first let's see how we are going to create the test. Okay, so here for now we are doing the backend testing, right? So we have implemented the auth flow, so this will be the complete testing flow. Okay, so first we need to call the MCP tool. So MCP we already have set up, right? That the step that we have done in the beginning of the part. So the same thing we need to do, but you have to make sure that the server is running. That I'm going to show you that how you're going to check it, and also you have to see the output of that particular server. If it is not running, so that means you'll not be able to create the test. Okay, second, we have to create a PRD or product requirement document, which is very important, right? So this is where you have to actually explain that what actually your tool is doing. You can also give technical information also. For example, I'm going to show you that how we are going to write our PRD for this auth flow. Now remember, all these things, right, is very important whenever you want to understand the full stack flow and responsibilities, right? Testing is a part of it. If you work in a very let's say you're working in a service based or product based company, especially product based companies, you'll see that automation test cases is very important, right? Before doing the production release, we need to do automation testing, right? So that we need to see from a user point of view if the flow is working or not. I hope this is clear. So once it is going to read the PRD or the product requirement, it's going to do the code analysis and the summary. Okay, once it will do that, then it's going to create or generate a test sprite normalized PRD. Okay, so I'm going to show you that how it's going to do that. It's going to create the test plans. So you see that it's going to create the test plans. Okay, what are the tests I need to create for this particular flow, and for that we are going to use GitHub Copilot. So you're going to paste a particular command that okay, we need to do this, and based on that it's going to do the create the test plans. It's going to create the executable test code. Once it will do that, it's going to execute the test, right? So step 7 will be execute the test. It's going to execute. It's going to give you the result if it is pass or it is fail. So this we are going to see locally also, right? So you will be able to see locally because we are running our MCP server from locally. Also will be able to see this one from this TestSprite dashboard also. Once it will do that, it's going to analyze the result and it's going to create a final report, and that report also will be able to see from this dashboard. So this is the overall flow. Now let's see how we are going to do that. Now because this auth flow you are using this Scalekit, now whatever auth take your tool you are using, or let's say you are using JWT, for now what we are going to do, right, we are going to simulate that particular auth flow by creating a E2E routes file. So in that route, what we are going to do, we are going to write a replica of what actually have implemented in that Scalekit login flow. So let's see how we are going to do that. So for this one, I'll go to the server, go to the auth, and then just create a E2E dot maybe let's do routes dot ts. Okay, now let's close everything else. So first of all, we're going to create a router. So I'm just going to do export, sorry, let's do const router, and this will be equal to router. So you're going to import from Express, and now I'm just going to create a function, and I'm going to do check E2E mode. Okay, so here I'm just going to do const is prod, and I'm just going to do process.env dot node underscore env is equal to production. Also I'm just going to check that const enabled, something like this. So I'll do process.env dot, so if I go here, right, we have the E2E test mode. So copy this, so this should be equal to true, and then I'm just going to do if, for now I'll do if is prod or not equal to enabled, so I'm going to return false, and or else I'm going to return true. So now what I'll do, right now, this is the important part. So I'm going to create a router dot post. So I'm going to create an endpoint, and this will be our E2E login. So I'll do E2E slash login. So this will be request response. Okay, so first I'm just going to check if check E2E mode, this is false. So I'm just going to return res.status of 404 dot JSON and something like some error, and let's do not found. Okay, now I'm going to create an email, because at the end we will be having an email, right? So I'll do email. So here I'll do if type of request.body.email, if this is equal to string, so I'm going to take it. So do request.body.email, or else I'm just going to use this E2E, see E2E at the rate test, let's do dot local, whatever you want to take, and then I'm just going to copy this and I'll paste 2 times. So one will be for name, one will be for ID. So I'm going to do name, right? So this will be name, and I'm just going to do E2E user. Okay, so just creating a dummy E2E user to test it. I hope this is clear, right? So here I'm just going to do ID, so this will be ID, and here I'm just going to request ID, or else this will be, let's say maybe E2E underscore user underscore 1, something like this. Let's do 1. Now what we do, right, see, so we're going to do set session cookie, and here I'm just going to do res, and we're just going to pass this ID, email and name, and here I'm just going to do return res.json, right, and here I'm just going to do OK, and this will be true. So this is one, and now let's create the logout also. So I'm just going to do router dot post. So I'm just going to do /e2e/logout, and here I'm just going to do request response, and I'll do the same logic, copy this, paste it here, and what I'll do, right, I'll simply do raise.clear cookie. So we have the cookie name, right? So let me just check. So we'll do cookie name, this one. So we'll do process.env.cookie name. Then I'm just going to pass it HTTP only. This will be true. Then we have the seeker, which will be false. Same site. So let's do lax. And also I'm going to do path, which will be /. And then I'm just going to do return. So I'll do race.json, and I'll do OK will be true. And at the end I'll do export default, and I'm going to export the router. So this is done. Now next what we're going to do, simply we will be using this in our root file. So copy this. So let's do auth e2e router, and this will be from e2e routes, and we can use it here. So I'll do app dot use. So I'll do /auth, and then I'm going to pass it here. Okay, so this is done. So let's see if there are any error or anything. Okay, so if you see, right, I already created this. So what will happen if I go to this? So let me just send this. So you're going to get OK, and now you can also go to header, and then you'll be able to get this token, right? Sorry, this token that we are going to copy. So copy this, and if I go to this get, right, so just paste it here, and then if you send this, you'll be getting the user information back. So just doing a simulation of that whatever we have implemented. At the end we are going to get this response back. Okay, now next step will be, first of all, what we need to do. Second will be, first we'll do Ctrl+Shift+P, and first we'll do MCP list server, because you have to see if this TestSprite MCP server is running or not. So click here and we'll do start server. Okay, and here you'll see that immediately you'll be seeing in the output that this is actually running. Why? Now this is very important. If you go here, right, in this MCP, remember I told you that we have to add the API key. If you haven't added the API key, it's not going to show as connected. So you have to add the API key to get this MCP server as authenticated to your account. So this will be the second step. Now next step, what we need to do, go to extension and search for Copilot, GitHub Copilot chat, because at the end we are going to paste our information in this chat only, so that it's going to create the test cases. So now for now you see that I intentionally kept this on disabled, so I'm just going to do this on enable. Okay, I'm just going to reload this window. Okay, so I'm going to pause this now, and then I'm going to run the project again, because we have to keep our local server running. I'm going to open the window here, and then we are going to start implementing the test cases. Alright, so now what will be our next step? So let's go here, right? So first you will see what you need to do. You need to create a product requirement doc. Now again, this will differ. I already mentioned that based on your project or the product that you are creating, you have to create your PRD. So for this one, I already created one simple PRD. So there we have this support desk app. This is our auth e2e flow, right? And I just clearly mentioned that what are the endpoints that you have to touch and what will be the expected result. Okay, I'll be adding all of this in the source code. So we'll just copy this, and then we'll go here and let's do one thing, go to the root and then create one testing. Let's do testing.md. okay, and then we paste it here. Now what we're going to do, so see that we have already this MCP, this is selected. Now we are going to open our let's open the we'll open the chat window. Okay, the first thing what we're going to do, we're going to run let's run this prompt here. So I've just clearly mentioned that we are going to do a backend testing. This will be our target base URL, and these all the flows that you need to test. Okay, so you have this status flow, this auth me flow, and the e2e login flow. So I'm just going to copy this, and then we are going to just paste it here, and let's do enter. Now let's see what are the steps it is following, and based on that how we are going to how it's going to create the test cases. Okay, so first you'll see that what this is telling that okay, this is actually running, and based on that it's actually showing that okay, this is the local port, and you'll see that this is actually taking the project path, right? So here you have to do this one as allow. All right, so this is what actually we need. Okay, so this is where we are going to configure our testing configuration. So first of all, mode we are going to keep this one as backend. This will be code base. Now authentication we are going to keep none for here, because we are using what we are using session cookies, right? We are not using bearer. Now here this will be 5000 path, we are not going to do anything. Now here this is very important, so we need to actually upload the document or the PRD that we have created. So I'm just going to quickly open this, right? So we will go to my project folder, and I have these, and then we have this testing PRD, right? So I'm going to open this. So this is done, and let's do continue. So this is successful. We'll do okay, and let's go back here, right? So now it will start creating the test cases. So let's wait. Okay, so analyze the project repository and summarize the code base. So we're going to allow. Now let's wait. Okay, it's reading all the files now. Okay, it's reading the A2E routes. Fantastic. So it will get the ID, and based on that it's going to create the test plan. All right, so creating the code summary. All right, fantastic. So you can see that it's created one folder, so you're going to keep this. And now what it is telling that now run node command to generate and execute test. Fantastic. So this is what actually you need. So you're going to allow, and if you go to their official doc, right, it's clearly mentioned all the steps and everything, and follow that it's actually doing the exact same step, and at the end it's going to create. So we have to give this one. So we want to run this. Okay, we have to generate code and execute. So we're going to allow. So let's go back again. Now it's going to create the test plan. Okay, it's showing failed. So let's see what is happening. So let's allow once again. Okay, I got it. So first it's going to create the standardized PRD. Why? Because if you go there, right, it's clearly mentioned that read user PRD, and then it's going to generate test sprite normalized PRD, which is actually it's doing. So now we are going to allow. Okay, and if you open this, right, it's going to create the standard PRD. Also it's going to create the test plan. So let's see how it is doing. Okay, so let's allow once again. Now it's going to start the generation. Fantastic. So you can see that it's going to start running the test cases. Whatever test cases that we actually ask to run in, that will come under E2E test flow, and based on that it's going to run all the test cases. If it is passed, it's going to show you the result. If it is failed, it's going to show you the result. So one test case already passed, two actually getting passed. You can also refresh this page, right, and you'll see the 3 is already passed. Let's wait. So one is failed, which is fine. That you have to debug, or we need to debug this why it's failed. The point is actually we are seeing the flow, that how actually it is happening, and how you can see the report and everything, how it's going to create the report, and the same report you'll be able to track from the dashboard also. So let's refresh this. Okay, so 4 passed and 1 failed. Fantastic. Now what you can do, right, I'm just going to open this, and you will see that what it is telling that server will remain active for 1 hour, 1 hour, and if you click this Control C, it's going to exit early. So for now what I'm going to do, right, I'm going to do Control C. Now I'll see that what it will do. We are going to do allow. Fantastic. So now it's going to do what? It's going to give you the test result, that what are the tests actually passed and what is failed. If it is failed, it's going to rerun once again, and it's going to give you the test result also. Let's see. Fantastic. So you can see that you actually get that pass rate is 80%, 4 of 5 tests actually passed here. You will be getting all the test cases here, right? Now if you go to their dashboard and if I just refresh this, you will be seeing the report here also, right? There how many test cases passed. So you can see that it's actually telling that full stack, this is the creation name, this is the status, right? And if you click here, you will be able to see the details also. Okay, and you can also click every test and you can also see the details from here also, right? So this is how it will look, that this is the code it's actually generated. So this is the overall flow, that how you can integrate TestSprite to create your test cases. Now remember, for this one we actually just created our backend auth flow. Now it's up to you. Now I'm also going to discuss some other flows that once we're going to start implementing the support logic, but for this one this will be more than enough. What you should do, right, try to add 2 or 3 more test cases. Okay, listen carefully. So to add 2 or 3 more test cases or update your PRD, okay, and then what you will do, you can just add some 2 or 3 more flow that, okay, test this or test that, and based on that you can experiment. But you have to remember one thing, whenever you are going to ask to create the test, that time your PRD should have proper information so that it can actually understand that, okay, this product is about this, and based on that it's going to create these many test cases. So with this part is now completed. Now we will move to the next one where we will start implementing our agent logic. So for this one we are going to use LangChain, and we are going to use the latest version of LangChain, which is version 1 if I'm not wrong, and we are going to use something called create agent method, and you'll see that how we are going to do that with real web search using Tavily. Alright everyone, so now it's time to start implementing our main agent logic. Now before that, I think if some of you are actually very new or you haven't worked on creating any agent, or you don't have any idea on LangChain, this can be little tricky, okay, but I will try my best to explain in a very simpler way. Don't go into too much technical. I think some of you already know that I have a Udemy course. Now again, I'm not doing any advertisement or anything, right, or marketing, but I'm just telling that in that course also I actually try to teach in very simple way, and then go from beginner to advanced level. The similar way I will try here also. Now what actually is agent, right? Now first of all you need to understand, let's do in a very simpler way. Consider you are a user, right, and you have a UI, right? So this is your Agentic UI. You are actually asking something, right, to this particular agent to do this. This agent is going to call a model, right? So let's say you have your model, which is your, let's say you're using OpenAI or whatever, it can be anything. And if you notice the this explanation, what actually this is telling, that these agents combine language models or whatever with tools, right, to create system that can reason about task, decide that which tools that particular agent needs to use, or what actually that agent needs to do. So agent is nothing but it actually decides something. Okay, that means you can see that what actually means that it actually work towards that particular solution. Now if you see this one, right, it's very simple to understand that you have your input, you have your model, it's doing some action, it's maybe called doing a tool calling, right, it's doing whatever, it's doing some observation back to this model, and based on this particular observation, model is doing finishing the work, which at the end you are returning the answer back, or you are returning the answer back to the user in a structured output way. Now structured output is a different concept that I'm going to discuss just now only, but this is what you need to understand, that you are a user, you are asking something, it's calling a model. This model actually is doing something, right, it's actually doing something. You have to understand this way. You can't explain what actually it's going to do, because that is going to depend based on the agent that you are creating. I hope this is clear. You have to understand this point, that you can't actually give a specific pointer that what actually it's going to decide. You have to understand it's going to decide something, that's it. Now consider you have one task and you are asking that, okay, give me top 10 movies. I'm just giving very simple way, even although this is not an agentic flow, right, I'm just giving trying to explain in a simpler way, that give me top 10 best movies of India in 2025. Now this is going to do what? Okay, it's going to check that, okay, do I have this answer or not. So it will check that, okay, I don't have this particular answer, so I have to do a tool calling, right? This tool calling is going to do anything, right? Maybe it's going to do a real web search, right? and based on that it's going to get the answer of these top 10 best movies, right? It's going to give you the answer back, and based on that you're going to create an answer and which you're going to return back to the UI. On the other side, let's say you're asking something else. Give me a definition of what is React.js or what is HTML. So in that case, it will say, okay, I already know the answer. I don't have to do any web search or anything. And based on that, it is going to return the answer. This is one of the very simpler way. I will say this is not even that much agentic. This is like simply we are doing a tool calling or whatever. Now you're doing some task that you are asking something, and based on that there is something called HITL involved. Now what is this, right? This is called human I forgot, man, let me just check. So do HITL, right? So it's called human in the loop. Okay, so human in the loop is nothing but that it's actually asking for user approval. Okay, that oh, you want to send a particular email to to your user, so you want to approve or not. So when you're going to approve, in that case it's going to maybe do a you have some automation for created for that particular agent, so it's going to draft the email and it's going to send that email to the user. So this is a proper agentic flow. I hope this is clear, right? So that means agent is doing something, so you have to understand in that way. The reason why I explain this one, now if I write the code right, you'll see that how much easier it will be for you to understand, even if you are doing this for the first time, right? Now in our case, what you are going to do, let's say I'm going to ask a support query, and based on that it's going to give or draft the answer. Now based on the query, we are going to create something called a route. Route is nothing but, for now we are going to create a very simple route. Remember, we are going to create a route based on our rule, not it's based on LLM decided, right? So LLM is not going to decide whether we need to do a web search or not. We will give a rule, and based on that we are going to create, because we want to keep this one simple. If I do this on LLM based on LLM decision, it will become very complicated, right? So we are going to write the rule based on our decision, but in this rule we will give some information, okay, that if these things are involved, you have to do a web search. If these things are not present in that particular query, you don't have to do it, you just give the answer back directly. Okay, I hope this is clear. So there are two flows: either you do a web search, you get give me sources back with the answer, or you directly give the answer back, you don't have to do a web search. So let's see now how we are going to do it. So first of all, what I'll do, right, I'm going to close this, go to server, go to source, and let's create agent or whatever. Let's do support also, you can keep, right? Support is also fine. So here I'm just going to do support dot routes dot ts. Okay, and also we are going to do let's create a support schema. So do support dot schema dot ts. Okay, now we are going to write the code, and at the same time we are going to understand from the documentation, or else this will be a little tricky. Okay, so first we'll go to these routes, and first let's create our routes. So I'm just going to do let's do const router, and this will be, why this is again coming, oh okay, I got it. I think this copilot is enabled, that's why. Okay, so here I'm just going to do router. I think I have to reload. Let me just reload. I will close this, and now let's do this one as router, right? And also I'm just going to import these from Express. So I'm just going to import this one from Express. Okay, now next what we're going to do, right? So first of all, we need to create the model, or we need to create the we need to create the agent. So first we are going to create the agent, but how we are going to do that? All right, so before we'll do this, right, so let's quickly understand that how, or what are the core components or core things that you need to understand before you're going to create this agent, right? So first of all, we are going to use something called create agent. So this is the first thing, which actually builds a graph based. Now again, graph means this involves LangGraph. Now LangGraph, if I don't want to go into much detail, so LangGraph means we have the concept of nodes, we have concept of edges, conditional edges, lot of things, the concept that I have discussed, right? HITL, human in the loop, all those things will come. But here you have to understand that we are going to use something called create agent, which is going to use, or we need to give a model, that is the main reasoning engine. So model is a reasoning engine of your agent, right? It can be specified in multiple ways. Now for this one also we have the capability from switch from one model to different model, but that is a different concept. But here these all are the core components. So first you have to give a model. Second, we have something called state schema that we are going to discuss later, right? One more thing you have to understand, and that is very important, something called as system prompt. Now what is actually system prompt? Now you can see that first read the definition, that you can shape how your agent approaches task by providing a prompt. Very important. I'll give you a simple example. Let's say you are doing something in ChatGPT and you are researching your a particular t-shirt or shirt outfit for marriage ceremony. What you usually write that, okay, consider that you are a e-commerce expert, or maybe let's say you're working with something with Excel. So we'll start with you are a Excel expert. So you're simply telling the agent that you are expert at something. I hope this is clear, right? So this is where you see you are a helpful assistant. So in our case, because we will be creating our JSON something like this, so I'm going to write that you output strict JSON only. You don't have to give any markdown, no extra keys. So this will be your system prompt. Once you give the system prompt, your agent is going to understand, oh, I have to do this, okay? And then you have something called response format. Response format means how we are going to get the data back, which is one of the core concept that you have to understand. Very important, right? It's called something called structured output. So you see that we already have structured output. So structured output, what actually mean? Simply you're simply telling the agent, I'm going to explain in very simple way, that give me this, something like that, give me 1 2 3, these 3 fields. So if you see here that what you're doing, that okay, this is my response format and this is my contact info. So I'm simply telling that when you're going to give me the output, you have to give me name, you have to give me email, you have to give me phone. If you're giving me a result from for a e-commerce related task, you have to give me that which t-shirt I have to buy, what is the price, right, from where I need to buy. I hope you're getting. So basically you're simply structuring the output in this format, right? So this is actually very important concept. I'm telling you, right? You have to understand these things. You go to any courses, any video, you'll see that these I'm not sure if some other people are telling, but from my side I will tell you that you have to understand the concept of structured output and everything, then only you can move to other things, right? Structured output is nothing but the way you want the data or the output from your agent. So these all the things that you have to know, okay? So first what are you going to do, right? So let's go here, and after this first we are going to create the agent. So let's create the agent. All right, so now let's start creating the agent, okay? So what are you going to do? So let's take a function, and I'm just going to do this one as make agent, and here this agent is going to receive a provider, and that provider actually we are going to use in our main reasoning model. So you have to have a model, right? So let's do this one as provider, and I'm just going to create a type which will be provider, okay? So let's increase this one like this, okay? We'll keep it like this. So provider here, what are the provider that we are going to have? So in this case we'll be only having the OpenAI and Gemini. If you're using something else, let's say you're using Grok, so you can add all those options here. So what I can do, you can simply take export const, and I'm just going to do provider schema. So this will be z dot enum, and here I'm just going to use this one as OpenAI, comma we have Gemini, okay? So two things, two models that we are going to use, and then I'm just going to do export type, and I will do provider, and this will be what, z dot infer, and here I'm just going to use type of provider schema. Save this, and then we're just going to import it from our schema. So this is the first step. Now here what this is going to return, so this is going to return create agent, so that we have discussed from LangChain, and this is going to receive couple of things. So first it's going to receive a model, right? So you have to pass a model here, and what you can do, right? So maybe let's create a simple function here, okay? So I'm just going to do function, and maybe let's do model ID, something like this, for, and this is also going to receive a provider. The type will be provider, and here I'm simply going to do return if provider is equal to OpenAI. So will we use this or else we'll use that. Now if you go here, I already have taken that, right? Let me just check quickly. I think not sure where I put it. Okay, let me just take it from this here. Okay, this will be OpenAI, and then we are going to use GPT 4o, and this will be mini. And for this one I'm just going to use Google_Gen AI : so this will be Gemini -2.5 and this will be Flashlight. Okay, and what you can do, you can just simply use this model ID for and then pass the provider. That's it. So this will be the first step. Now second, what we need, right, we need a state schema. It's nothing but, so you can consider this one as your LangGraph state schema or your agent memory set. Why we actually need it? Now remember, one thing we are going to see later, that this create agent is going to give you an invoke method. Okay, and that invoke method is going to expect a state update object. Okay, and it's not going to expect a raw string. So here what you're going to do, we have something called a inbuilt property called messages value. So what you're going to do, so let me just first write it and then only I'm going to explain. So here I'm just going to take agent state. So I'm just going to do agent state, and these will be equal to new, and here we have something called state schema. Okay, and these we are going to import from our LangGraph. So I'm just going to do import from, and we're going to do we also need to install LangChain or LangGraph we need to install. Let me just quickly do it. So I'll go to cd server and I'll do npm install @LangChain, and this will be LangChain/LangGraph. So what actually we are going to do, right, or why actually need this state schema? So here first let me just quickly do it. So I'm just going to import it, or we can remove this now, and then if I just see, we'll get this state schema. So here state schema provide a unified API for defining a LangGraph state schemas. Okay, you'll see that we have a pre-built messages value. This is what I was talking about. So what we are going to do, so by declaring this messages value, we are going to tell agent that I'm going to provide some conversation messages, right, as a input state. I'm going to repeat once again that I'm going to provide some conversation messages as a input state. Okay, now here what you're going to do, right, so this will be new state schema, and here you are going to pass messages. So you'll be passing messages, and these messages will be your messages value. Okay, so this is what we are going to use, this messages value. These we are going to use here. Okay, so this will be I think the property will be state schema, and this will be agent state. Okay, now next thing, we are also going to pass a tool. So for now tools we don't have anything, it's optional, so keep it as empty, right? We are not doing any tool calling here. Now the important part is that you need to understand, and that is we are going to enforce a strict JSON output, right? This is where I want all of you to understand these things, that is called the structured output, right? So this is how we are going to get the output back. So we have something called a response format, right? If you notice here that it provided, okay, star will not present, no, not this one. Okay, let's forget about this. I'm going to explain in a simpler way. Now here what we are going to do, right, we will be actually creating one draft schema, and we are going to tell our agent that okay, this is how you are going to give me the result back. Okay, so now let's do a draft schema, and let's quickly create this, and you will understand very easily. So I'll do export const, and you're going to do draft schema, and this will be z.object, right? And now I'm going to tell my agent that okay, whenever I'm going to ask a query, you have to give me a reply, right? So this will be one property. Now this will be a string. Okay, so this will be a string, and then I'm just going to add a mean of 1. Second, I'm also going to have a sources, right? Now these can be optional also. I'm just giving an example that okay, these two things your model is going to, or your agent is going to return as a response to you. Okay, so sources here, what I can do, we'll just do z.array of z.string of, so I'll do min 1, and then array maybe you can do max of 3 or not more than that. So this will be my draft schema. And now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do export type. I'll do support response. So this is how I want my response back, which will be z.infer of type of draft schema. Okay, so this is done. Now this is what we're going to use here. So you're simply telling that when you are going to give me the response back, you have to give me in this particular format. Okay, and then we have our system prompt, right? This part we have already discussed. So system prompt is nothing but we are going to tell agent that okay, you are going to do something, right? Maybe you are a e-commerce expert, you are a Excel expert, you are a product specialist, you are a software engineer, something like that. So here I'm just going to do return strict let's do JSON only, no markdown. See, I'm clearly mentioning no markdown, and I'm also going to do, let's do no extra keys. Okay, so now this is going to create our agent, right? So agent is receiving a model, state schema, tools, which is empty for now, that is fine, response format, which is very important, and the system prompt. Okay, so now I think this is done. So first, now let's do one by one. Okay, so you have to understand the process, that how it will work. So what we're going to do first, so first let's create our endpoint. So I'm just going to do router.post, and this is the endpoint that we are going to call from our UI side. Okay, so whenever user will ask a query, we are going to hit this particular endpoint, and here I'm just going to do async. So we'll do request response, and here what we'll do simply, so first I'm going to get, so I'll do const parsed, and here what we can do, right, we also going to maybe let's create one more schema, which will be our request schema. So this is our final output schema. So I'm just going to create one more, which will be request schema. So I'm just going to do const, and I will do request schema, and this will be z.object, and here I'm just going to do provider. So it's going to receive a provider, right, that which provider you're using from our UI side, which will be provider schema, and also it's going to receive the actual text, that what query that I'm asking. So this will be z.string.mean of 1. Okay, and I think this will be fine. So now what we can do, first of all, whenever we are going to get this, we are going to do what, we are going to parse, right? So I'm just going to take the request schema dot save parse, and what you're going to pass, so in our body you will be receiving those, right? So we're going to pass request dot body. Okay, so this will be the first. Now here you have to always give the check that if this is not success, so you're going to return res dot status of 400 dot JSON, and I'm just going to do error, and this will be invalid input. So this will be the second check that we need to do. Now what we're going to do, from our parsed, we are going to get what, two things. One will be the provider, that whether these people, this guy is using OpenAI or this guy is using Gemini, or what text he is actually asking. So these two things we are going to get. So how we are going to get it, so we'll be getting from our parsed, and this is going to give you this data. And if you just do control space, you're going to get the provider, do again, and you'll get the text. Okay, so now till this part this is done. Now it's very important, right? Whenever you are going to do these things, just do a trim of that particular query. So I'm just going to do const, and let's give this one name as maybe ticket, right? This is what we are asking. So I'm just going to do text dot trim. Okay, now this is where it will become very interesting. Okay, this is what you need to understand. So till this part, now it's time to understand whether we need to do a web search or we don't have to. Now remember, I already mentioned web search we are going to do based on our own logic or custom logic. This is not decided by LLM. If you want to do decided by LLM, it will be very complicated, like little complicated logic. We are not going to go into that way. So here what we are going to do, we are going to set some rules, and based on that it's going to decide whether we need a web search, whether we need or we don't. Okay, I hope this is clear, right? So how we are going to do that or set that rules. Now see, so I'm just going to do web search, right? And here I'm just going to do should web search, and you will understand these things what we are doing very easily, and I'm going to pass the ticket. Now what I'm going to do, right, so I'll be creating this function. Okay, so I'm just going to do here, maybe let's create here only. So I'll do function, and I'll do should web search. This is going to receive the ticket, and this will be string. Now what I'm going to do here, right, so first of all, let's convert this one to lowercase, right? So I'll just do this one as maybe ticket lower, something like this, right? And here I'll do ticket lowercase, so I'll do ticket dot to lowercase. Now here we are going to add, now see, I'm not sure if I will be able to explain you properly or whether you'll understand, but if you don't, just write the comment. Here what we are going to do, right, we can write n number of rules. Please listen carefully, n number of rules we can write here, and this logic will differ based on the agent that you are building. Now remember, this is not a production level, like this is not high level, I'm clearly telling, this is just to give you the explanation. In normal cases what will happen, right, LLM is going to decide whether we need to do web search or not. I hope this is clear, right? Here we are actually deciding, this is not the case, so this is not happening here. So that means we will set some rules that, okay, whenever maybe we will get something like, let's say in this particular ticket we have some search keyword, right? For example, docs, documentation, webhook, signature, or maybe let's say auth. Whenever you'll get this kind of word, you are going to do a web search. If you are not getting this kind of word, you are not going to do it. Okay, I hope this is clear. So consider you are creating a e-commerce agent, and then you have some rules that you're creating a product that whenever user is going to specifically ask that give me some product from Amazon, so Amazon is a keyword here, so that time I'm going to do a web search. Again, this is not the best way of doing it, because how many rules you have to write in that case? You can't write every single use case, right? That is the reason I mentioned normally LLM is going to decide this one, but here I'm giving you the idea that how it's going to work. So simply we are telling that whenever you'll get some word like Amazon, or you're getting something like Myntra, or you're getting something like Facebook, or you're getting Insta, so whenever you'll get this kind of word, you are going to do a web search. I hope this is clear. Similarly, in this case, what are we going to do? We are going to do web search whenever there will be technical signal word. Technical signals word means, let's say we have docs, documentation, auth, maybe login, webhook, callback, signature. These kind of things, whenever there is this kind of word, you are going to do a web search. So now let's see how we are going to do that. So for this one, I already added a, where is that? See. So I'm not going to write all this. So you see, we have any non-docs or anything like this, we are not going to do web search. If we have documentation, auth, redirect URI, callback, webhook, so in that case we are going to do a web search. Okay, so let's copy this line, and then what I'll do, simply I'm just going to remove this and I'm going to paste it here. So if we are getting all this, then we are not going to do it. So this will be ticket lowercase, and first of all I'm going to do see technical signals. So I'll do technical signals, and if you are getting these kind of word, for example, let's say we have documentation, all these things, we are going to do a web search. Okay, so I'm just going to copy till this part, and then we're going to just paste it here, and we also need to, I think this is fine. And now what are you going to do? Simply we are going to do return technical signals dot test, and you're going to pass this ticket lowercase. So simply we are telling, so this is our rule, that if you are getting this kind of word, you don't do it. If you're getting this word in your ticket, you are going to do a web search. I hope this is clear. So now what are you going to do? So let's go here. So now this will decide that whether we need to do a web search or not. And then I'm just going to do slate search results. And here what I can do, maybe we are also going to, we need to also write the Tavily search logic, right? So maybe what I can do, right? So let's create one more file. So I'm just going to create tavily.ts. So I'll do Tavily, because this is where we are going to actually do the web search. So I'm just going to do export type, and I'll do, maybe let's do Tavily result. And here I'm going to pass title, which will be string, URL, this will be string, and also I'm going to get something called snippet, which also will be string. Now what I will do, right, I'll create the method here. So I'll do export async function, and I'll do Tavily search, and let's get some args. So here I'm just going to get the query, the actual query, which will be string, and also I'm just going to do, let's take one number property here, and there's do this on as number. And what this is going to return, so this is going to return a promise with the word Tavily result. Okay, so now first of all what I'm going to do, Remember, we already have the Tavily API key that is added. I'm going to show you, although I'll delete this one later, this Tavily API key. Okay, so use your own, don't use mine. Okay, so some of you actually take screenshot and do it. Don't do it. So I'm just going to do key here, and I'll do process.env dot, and then just copy this Tavily API key. So first of all, I'll check if the key is not present, return empty. Okay, and then I'm just going to do const, let's do maybe extract query. So this will be args dot query, and I'm just going to do a trim here. Okay, and then what I'll do again, I'll just give one more check that if extract query is false, so I'll return empty. Now here what I can do, right, how many max results we want. So here now I'm thinking we can make this on 3 only. I think let's not do it, let's keep 3 only. So I don't need this one for now. So what we can do, right, we can directly call the API now. So I'll do try catch. So here what I'll do now, so I'm going to do const result, I'll do await fetch, and let's go here. So let's see where we have this search. Okay, this is what we need. So we have I need the API name. Okay, 1 minute. Oh, okay, I got it. Curl, this is what I need. This is what I need. So api.tavily.com/search. So copy this, and then I'm just going to paste it here. And then first of all, we're going to pass a method which will be post. Headers I'm going to pass. So I'm just going to do content type equal to application/JSON, and after this I'm just going to do a body which will be JSON.stringify. So first of all, let's see what are the things we need to pass here, right? So you have you see what are the things that we are going to get. First of all, we need to see. So we have max result, this is what we are going to call. We have the search depth also. Let me just see. Okay, query is required. We have something called max result also, right? Max result, search depth, this is also we are going to pass. What else? Include answer, we'll keep this on false. Images also not needed for now. Okay, so let's do one thing. Also we need to pass the API key. Where is that API key? Bearer your API key. Okay, so what I can do, right, we can directly go here, and maybe you can directly pass the API_key, and this will be our key. Then we can pass the query, which will be our query, right? So this will be our extract query. Then we have the max result. Let me just copy. So max result, I'm going to keep this on as, let's do 3. Search depth will keep basic only. Then what else? So include answer, include images, include answer, include images. These two, copy this. This we don't need. And raw no, let's keep the raw content also. So I think this should be fine. So now we are going to get the result. And now first of all, what I'll do, I will check if not equal to result dot okay. So I'm just going to return empty array, and then I'm going to get the data. Okay, so data will be, now I'll do await. So I'll do result.json as unknown as, and here what are you going to do, right? So let's say how we are going to get the result back. So if you notice, in the result you have the title, you have the URL which you need, and you have the content. So these three will be more than enough. Score we don't need for now. Okay, these three we need: title, URL, and the content. So what I can do as, inside this I'm just going to do results. Okay, here what you can do, right, simply you take the array, Now these all are normal TypeScript concepts. Okay, inside this what I have to pass, will do title, which is optional. Here you'll do unknown for now, and I'm also going to do URL unknown, and also I'm just going to do content, I'll do unknown. Okay, so this will be my data format. Now after this what I will do, so I'm just going to do const results. So I'll do if array dot is array of this data dot results, right? So we have the result, we are taking this result. If this is the case, so we'll take what, so we'll do data dot result, or else it will be empty again. Okay, and then what you're going to do right now, you see how we are going to check it based on if this is string or not. So that is the reason I've taken unknown here. So now I'm just going to do results dot map, and you'll get the result. So I'll do res, and here what you're going to do, right? So now I'm just going to do const, I'll do title, and now you're going to check if this type of res dot title, if this is string, then you're going to get this. Okay, so I'll do res dot title, or else you're going to just do some result or title, whatever you want to do, and do the same for this URL and content also. Paste it. So you'll do URL, I'll empty, and this also let's keep empty, and this will be content. Okay, and then at the end we're going to return. So I'll return the title, return the URL, and let's return a snippet, right? What are you returning? Let me just check. Snippet. So you're going to return a snippet, which will be, so you have the content, and then I'm just going to do dot slice. Let's do 0,350. And then what we can do, right? So we are doing map, and here I'm just going to do filter. If we are getting URL, then only we are going to do it. Okay, so I'm just going to do filter, and then what I can do, we'll do filtered res, and here I'm just going to do the filtered res dot URL dot length. If this is greater than 0, so you're going to give me those results. Something we are doing wrong with it. Oh man, this will be array. Okay, so now I think this is done. So now what I can do, right, in this one I can simply return this. So see, if you're getting confused, we are simply doing API call, right? We are getting the data with title, URL, content, which we are keeping unknown. We are getting if this is array, so we'll get the data, we'll check if this is type is string, so we'll get corresponding title, URL and content, and at the end why we are doing filter, because we need this title to show the sources, right? That is the reason we are checking that for that particular collection or for that particular object, if there is URL, then only you give me that result. So you're just doing a filter. Okay, so I think this is done. So now what will be our next step? So next step here, what I can do, right, simply now we also need to do quite a few things. So first let's do one by one. So I'm just going to do here Tavily result of array equal to array, empty array for now. Okay, now first I'm just going to take a try catch, and here I'm just going to do search result will be empty, and in this try, now listen, here I'm just going to check that if we do web search, in that case I need to save the search result or else not. So I'm going to have it, and now you're going to call the Tavily search, which is going to receive what? It's going to receive the query, and query will be what? Your ticket, right? So you have your ticket, this one. So you're going to pass the ticket, so you do ticket dot slice. So you'll do ticket dot slice, and here I'm just going to do, maybe let's do 0,200. Okay, so this is going to, if you are doing web search, then only it's going to save the search result. So this is our next step. Now what we're going to do, so now we are going to do agent related work, because actual agent invocation we haven't done yet. We have to call the invoke method, then only it's going to create the answer. So for this one I'm going to take once again try catch, and here I'm just going to do, now we'll take const and do agent, and I'm going to call our make agent, and this is going to receive what? It's going to receive the provider. So which provider you're going to get? This provider you're going to get from your UI, because from your UI you are going to select that you want to use OpenAI or you want to use Gemini. So I'm just going to pass the provider here. Okay, and I'm just going to do const prompt And what we can do, right, we also need to create a prompt now. This is actually important part here. Okay, so this is where we are actually going to create the actual prompt, that how you are going to, or how your agent is going to understand that what actually this agent needs to do. Listen carefully. Okay, so this is our prompt. So I'm just going to do create prompt. So I'll do create prompt. Okay, first let's create this function. So we'll go to the top and I'm going to do function. I'll do create prompt. Now let's take the args, and here I'm just going to receive the ticket, which will be string, and also it's going to receive the search results. Search result will be of Tavily result of array. Okay, so first of all what I'm going to do, I'll do const, let's do has search result. So this will be args dot search result dot length. If this is greater than 0, that means we already have a search result. So now what I'm going to do, now we are going to return the actual prompt. Now here I'm not going to write because it will be little long. I already have created, so I'm going to explain. So let me just copy from here, and then we're going to change this one. So I'll paste it here. Okay, so first of all, see what you're telling, simply that you are an expert at something. I already explained this point, that you are a B2B support desk agent. You have to write a ready-made customer reply, that so that we don't have to write, we can just copy from there, we can send it to customer. This will be how output. So we have outputs would be reply and sources. These two things we are going to get. This we also have mentioned here, that we have the reply and the sources, right? And then we have some rules, that be polite, ask for missing info, do not make these, all this. And here I'm just going to do has search result. If there is a search result, so if you use web search, sources must contain 1 to 3 URL from the provided web search result. Okay, and now this is our web search result, and this is our ticket. So ticket is nothing but the actual ticket that user has pasted. Okay, now what we can do, right, we can actually format this search result. So copy this, and then we'll create this here. So I'm going to do function, I'll do format search result. So this will be my result, the type will be Tavily result. Okay, so first of all give a check that if results dot length, if this is false, so I'm going to return, maybe let's do none. Okay, or else I'm just going to do return. So I'll do results dot map. So I'm going to do result dot index, right? And here what we're going to do, right, so let's create const. So I'll do maybe let's do snip. So I'll do result dot snippet dot trim. If this is present, so I'm just going to take this. I'll do result dot snippet dot trim, or else I'm just going to do no snippet. Okay, then what you can do, right, maybe let's return. So I'm just going to use this hashtag. Okay, and then here I'm just going to pass the index. I'll do +1 and then give space, and here I'm just going to do result dot title, and here let's give this, and what else, okay, let's take that URL also, the result dot URL, and also I'm just going to take out snippet if this is present. That's it. And then we also need to do a join. So I'm just going to do a join with this. So this is going to format, right? So this is going to create the prompt. Now what we have to do, so now let's go there. So create prompt is going to receive two things. One is your ticket and one is your search result. Ticket is nothing but the ticket that we have here. So this will be the ticket. And then you have to pass the search results. So you're going to pass the search results, right? So these two things you're going to pass. We have to pass this one inside this, right? Okay. So now what will be next step? Now we are going to call our agent. Now we are going to call the agent invocation, right? Now here remember we are using this LangGraph, so it's actually going to use LangGraph style state update. Don't go into that much details for now, but remember first thing, remember the thing that what actually you're doing now. We are actually doing, or we are actually invoking the agent here. We haven't done anything yet. So now I'm just going to do const, and let's do output. No, let's do out only, and then I'm just going to do await. So I'm going to call agent, and if you do dot, you'll see that you have something called invoke, right? So now we are going to call this invoke, and what you're going to pass, so I'm just going to pass a messages, and here you have to give a role. Okay, so I'm just going to give here the role, this will be user, and also I'm just going to pass a content will be our prompt. Okay, so this is going to give you what, now it's going to give you your structured output. But how you're going to get the structured output, that is the reason we have given the response format here, this one. Okay, so now if you go here, right, so let's see how we are going to get the structured output. So I'm just going to do const, maybe let's do here draft, and I'm just going to do draft schema. Now you'll do parts and see what you're doing. So I'll do out dot, and you see what you're having, structured output. Interrupt is different. Okay, that is a different concept. This one, this is different. Structured response, this is what actually we need. Based on this, we are actually telling that, okay, now use this schema and create the data in that particular format. Now what you're going to do, maybe let's normalize the sources. So I'm just going to do let sources, and this will be okay, let's do one thing, let's maybe create a unique function so that we can get only the unique sources. So I'm just going to do function, we also will do unique, and I'm just going to do array, which will be a string, and I'll just do simply normal concept, right, array.form, and then I'll do new set of this array. Okay, so now what we're going to do simply, so we'll go here. So you have the sources. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to call this unique, and this draft has the sources, right? See, we already have the schema, right? So this is going to give you the sources, and then I'm just going to do filter. Let's take anything, right? Maybe data or whatever. Yes, source, let's do source. So I'm just going to do the type of source is equal to string. Okay, so now I'm just going to do sources equal to sources dot. Now again we need to do a filter. Actually it is important because we will be getting our URLs, right? So we are going to check that if the protocol is HTTP or HTTPS, then only we are going to return. So for this one, I'm also going to create one more function here. So I'm just going to do function, and I'll do is HTTP URL, something like this. And here what I'm going to do, we'll take the input, let's do this on a string, and what you can do, right, you can just do a try catch. So here you can return this one as false, and here you'll do const, maybe what we'll do, check, right, check, something like this, and I'll do new URL of this input, and then I'm simply going to check if this check dot protocol is equal to, so we can check using this HTTP, or if this check dot protocol, if this is equal to HTTPS. That's it. So this is going to check that if this is actually this protocol is starting with HTTP or HTTPS, then only you are going to do that. So here what you can do, you can simply pass this is HTTP URL, right, and then you can just do slice, and then we need only 3, right, so I'm going to do 0,3. That's it. I already mentioned, right, that in this particular video that you should have your JavaScript, TypeScript, all these concepts very strong, or else doing these agentic projects will be tricky. I hope you understand, because I can't explain all these things line by line. Consider you don't have any idea of this filter, or let's say how this now you might be thinking I'm doing little fast. Now believe me, I've done n number of times all these things. It's like I already have memorized most of the things, right, you got it, right? So like for example, let's say filter or creating this function, it's like very easy. But for some of you, if you're doing for the first time, until unless your TypeScript is very strong, you can't work with, right? You need to have this type safety related concept very clear, then only you can work on this particular agentic flows. So now what we are going to do, so first I'm going to just see one check that these sources, whatever we are creating, it is coming from our web search or not. So what we can do, right, so here we can simply check that we'll have the do web search, right, and search result dot length both are actually greater than 0, right? If this is the case, then what we are going to do, maybe let's do const, and here I just going to do allowed, and we are just going to use that unique, and here I'm just going to pass the search result dot map. So I'll do search result, and here what we can do, simply we are going to check if this type of search result dot, so we have the URL, if this is equal to string. So in that case what we can do, we can take this search result dot URL dot trim, or else this will be empty. Okay, so this is one, and also let's save this. 1 minute, let me just, so we have the search result, if this is string, then we are going to take it, or else this is fine. Okay, we also need to do a filter, so I'm just going to do filter with boolean. So now next what we'll check, right? So first we'll check if these sources are empty or not. So I'm just going to do if sources dot length is equal to 0. So in that case we're going to return arrays dot status of 422 dot JSON, and I'm just going to do error. So let's do sources are empty. Okay, then I'm simply going to check if these are bad sources or not. So I'll do bad sources. How we can check it? So we have the sources, and we're going to do filter. So I'm going to get the source. I'm simply going to do, if this is not equal to allowed sources that we have, dot includes this particular source. And if that is the case, so that means if bad sources dot length greater than 0, that means what? Sources that contains all the URLs that are actually not present in our actual Tavily results. Okay, so in that case what we can do, we can return again. So I'm just going to do res dot status of 422 dot JSON, and here I'm just going to do, so I'll do error, and I'll do sources not allowed, something like this. Okay, so now also we can return one more thing, that bad sources will be these bad sources that we have. Also we are going to do allowed sources. So allowed sources will be allowed that we have dot slice of 0,3. Okay, if this is not the case, then in that case we can return the final results when we are doing the web search. So here after this I'm just going to do return, and I'll do res dot JSON, and I'm going to return the reply. So this will be dropped dot reply, and then we are going to have our sources. So this is when we are doing the web search. If we are not doing web search, so in that case what we need to do, so I'm going to return res dot JSON, and here I'm just going to do reply. So this will be dropped dot reply, and what will be the sources? Sources will be empty. Okay, and here what I can do, maybe let's return res dot status of 500 dot JSON, and I'm just going to do error, and I'll do source agent failed. Okay, and I think this is done. So now what will be the next step that we are going to do? So we are going to export the router. So I'm just going to go to the below, and then we'll do export default router. Okay, so I think this is done. Now next step will be, let's go to our index.ts. So we'll import this. So I'll do support router, and this will be from, now we have to go to the support, and then I'm just going to do app.use. So we'll do maybe, okay, one more thing we need to do. So first of all we need to protect these. I'm just going to do /API, and I'm just going to use the require auth that we have from our middleware, and after this only I'm going to use this, so that it will protect by middleware, right? Normal Node.js concepts or Express concepts. So here I'm just going to do app.use. So here I'll do /API. Now I'll do /support, and we're going to pass the support router. So save this. Okay, so no error. So I think this is done. So with this I think we have completed our backend, right? So I think the concept you understand, right, that whatever you have done, this main thing is that how we have created the agent, and how we are actually doing the rule here, right? Based on what you're going to do web search, or else it's going to return the actual result back. Based on what? Based on the structured output, which is based on this schema that you've written. So with this is done. Now let's integrate with our front end. Alright, so now let's implement our UI. Okay, so we'll go to client side, go to source, go to pages. I think we already have the support page, right? So let's close this and go to components, and let's create support, and maybe let's do this one as support agent AI. So I'm just going to do support agent not AI UI.tsx. okay, so let's start with this main component first. So what are we going to do, right? So first of all, we are going to take a couple of states. Okay, and before that let's do one thing. So let's create our types also, because we need some types and schema. So we'll go to our lib folder and let's do support.types.ts. so first I'm just going to import from Zod, and I'm going to import Z, and also I'm just going to do export const. So we have our response schema, so this will be z.object. So what are the things we have? We have the reply, which will be z.string, and also you're going to have the sources. Remember, so you have the sources, right? So you have the sources, so this will be z.array of z.string dot default. Maybe let's do the default as, no, we are doing outside. No, this will be outside dot default of array, like this. And here I'm just going to do export type, and I'm going to do support response, and this will be z.infer of, and here I'm just going to do type of response schema. Okay, so this is the first thing. Also we need some more types that we are going to write, so I'm just going to also do export type. So let's do provider. So provider is either OpenAI or Gemini. Also I'm just going to take let's do export type. So I'll do result state, so this will be reply, which will be string, and sources, which will be string of array. Also you're going to have one for our the agent payload. So I'm just going to do call agent payload, and this will be provider, which will be provider, and also I'm just going to have the text, which will be string. Okay, so these all will be more than enough. So now let's go to our support page, and then we'll start taking all the states. Okay, so first I'm going to take provider. Let's do set provider, and this will be use state of, so we have the provider, and here I'm just going to do this one as OpenAI by default, because I'm using OpenAI. If you're using something else, you can just change that. Set ticket, and this will be use state of empty. What else? Let's take some loading, because we definitely need loading. When it will do web search, it's going to definitely take some time. It's not going to be very immediate. So this will be false. What else? Also, we are going to take our result. So I'm just going to do result set result, and this will be use state of result state or null, and by default I'm going to take this one as null. Okay, I think these four will be enough. So now what we can do, right? So let's go here, and then let's create this component. So I'm just going to do support agent UI. Okay, so for now let's take a div. So we're going to call this, I'm going to call this here. So I'm going to do support agent UI, and I'm going to pass all these, right? So first I'm going to pass, let's do one thing, let's go to that component and let's take all the props that we need, right? So we can close this. So we'll do type, and I'm just going to do props, or let's do support agent. Now let's keep props on it, makes sense. So here I'm just going to do provider. What will be the type? The provider, right? Then we have on provider change that we are going to receive. So here this will be type will be provider again, and what this is going to return, void. We are going to receive the ticket, which will be string. On ticket change, so here I'm going to get the val, which will be string, and this is going to be again void. So we are also going to have the loading, which will be boolean. We are also going to have the result, which will be result state or null. Also I'm going to take one let's do one more, which will be actual run, right? Whenever we are going to click on button, it's going to do the API call. So I'm going to on agent run, maybe I'll do on agent run. So this will be just void. So these all the props that we need. So here I'm just going to do props, and this will be the type will be props. Okay, so now we can call all this from here. So first I'm going to pass the provider, which will be provider. We have on provider change. So in this case, what we can do the set provider, right? So we have the set provider. Then we have the ticket, which will be ticket. Then we have the on ticket change. So I'm going to do set ticket. Then we have the loading, which will be simply loading. Then we have the result will be this result. Okay, what else? We have the on agent run. So I'm just going to do start agent run. So I'm going to create this, right? So I'll go here and then create this. That's it. Anything else? I think these all should be enough. So save this. Now we will first create the UI, because without creating the UI it will be difficult, right? So first let's do one thing. Let's remove this, and now we have to start the boarding task again. And that boarding task, if you follow me, you know I actually don't like this writing this CSS. Okay, VG white. Now here I'm just going to add a glow that I'm not going to write, I'm going to copy paste, so it will be simply pure CSS. We're going to do later. Let's create the main content here. So I'm just going to do class name. So I'll do relative mx of auto. Let's do a max w7xl, px of 4 and py of 8. Now inside this we are going to have a top bar. So I'm just going to take a div. So let's do a class name. So margin bottom of 6, flex wrap. So I'll do items and justify between, and gap of maybe let's do 3. Now inside this we're going to take one more div, and here I'll take a div and then I'll do class name. So I'll do inline flex. Let's do item center, gap of 2, rounded full, border, border slat 200, do bg white divided by 80, px of 3, py of 1, and do text XS, font medium. Let's do a text slate of 700, and let's do a shadow SM. Okay, now inside this let's take a span, and then I'll render live, something like agent console. And here what we can do, we can maybe just render a span, something like this. So I'll do class name. So I'll do inline block, inline block. What else? Maybe let's do height of 2, width of 2, rounded full, and I'm going to do BG emerald of 800. Okay, so I think this is done. Next, after this maybe can render the H1, and I'm just going to do support desk agent. So let's give a class name. So here I'll just do margin top of 3. Let's do text 2XL, font semi bold, tracking tight, and text slate of 900. Okay. Maybe I think this should be enough, right? So after this div, close this. Okay, after this, what I can do, we can render all our sources, that sources we are going to receive. Okay, so what I can do, we can take a div and maybe, or else let's do one thing, let's only render the sources length. Okay, so I'm just going to do sources. Alright, so here we're just going to render the sources, right? So I'm just going to do, let's take a B and then just do result dot sources dot length. Okay, also let's give one check, or else this is going to give error, that if result dot sources dot length, if this is greater than 0, so in that case only we are going to render this, or else this will be null. Okay, got it now. So we have to just change this. So let's do 0. Okay, so now let's save this, and also let's give a class name. So I'm just going to do, maybe let's do a rounded full, and I'll do border slet 200, bg of white, px of 3, py of 1, and I'll do text access, right, and the text slate of 700. We don't have any sources for now, which is fine. So now after these, so what I will do, right, so now I'm going to take a div. So let's take a class name. So I'm just going to do breed gap of 6. For large, I'm going to do breed columns of 5, and here we're going to take our left side and the right side. So we'll do class name, so this will be large column span of 2, and then we are going to have our right side, which will copy this, and we're going to do later. So this will be our right side view, and here I'm just going to do column span of 3, and let's do space y of 6, right? So now let's start with the left side first. So here what I'm going to do, simply so let's take a div, let's keep this one simple only, and I'm just going to do provide the ticket only, something like this, and let's do a class name, and I'm just going to do margin top of, let's do 2, I'll do text small, and text slate of, let's do 600. Let's see how this is looking. Okay, I think this is fine. Now after this, what I can do, right, here let's take one more div, let's take a class name. So I'll do margin top of 5, breed gap of 4, and here I'm just going to take a div, and I'll do class name. So I'll do space y of 2, and here I'm just going to take a label, and I'm going to do select provider, or whatever you want to give. So I'll do select provider, class name, I'll do text access, font semi bold, and also I'm going to do text slate of 700. Let's do text, I think this is fine. Let's render the select. So I'm going to do select, and here simply render an option, and I'm just going to do OpenAI, and also will do Gemini. Okay, let's give a value. So I'm just going to do value OpenAI, and this value will be Gemini, and in this select we're going to take a class name. So I'll do height of 10, so I'll do width of full, we'll do rounded XL, border slate of 200, BG of white, PX of 3, let's do text small, text slate 900, shadow, maybe let's do SM, do outline, let's do none. Also let's give a focus, and I'll do ring of maybe 4. Also going to give a focus, ring indigo 100. Awesome. Okay, so after this we'll take a value. So value will be our provider. So let me just take this from props. I'm just going to take the provider, and also going to take on provider change. Okay, so here we are going to pass the value which will be provider, and then I'm just going to take a on change. So this will be event, and here we are going to call on provider change, which will be event dot target dot value, and here you can pass as, now these things you need to know, provider type. Okay, so this is done. So now this is completed. So now if you go here, right, you'll be able to switch. So this will store. So now after this, what you can do, maybe let's see where we can do after this. So here I'm just going to take one more div. So I'll do class name. So I'll do space y of 2, and inside this we're going to take the label once again. So let me just copy from here. Let's see how the text Excel is looking. Okay, Excel is fine. Copy this, and then we'll just paste it here, and this will be client ticket, right, or email. Save this. So now here what we can do, you can simply render text area. Now if you want, you can use the text area from Shadcn also, but for now I'm just directly using. So here we are going to take a class name. So I'm just going to mean height of 200 px, we'll do width of full, we'll do rounded to XL. Okay, what it is telling, mean height 50 you can do. Okay, and then after this what you can do, we'll do a border slate of 200, bg of white, ex of 3, py of 2, and do text small, we'll do text slate of 900. Let's do a shadow sm, and then we can just do the same that whatever you have done here. Copy this, and then we can paste it here. Okay, so I think this is done. Now here we are going to take a couple of more things. So first I'm going to take the value. So value will be the ticket that we need to check. So I'll do ticket, and I'll do on ticket change, both the things. So here we are going to pass, this will be ticket, and then I'm going to do on change, which will be again event, and I'm going to do on ticket change will be event dot target dot value. I think this should be fine. Also let's do a disable property, and here we are going to take the loading. You have the loading state, right? So we'll pass the disable as loading. So it will be disabled whenever it will be in the loading state. Boolean is not, why is that? Oh, I think I have done, see. So same thing we can use here also. Okay, so I think this is done. Now next what we're going to do, we are going to only have one button after this. I think that should be enough. So after this we will take a button. So I'll just render a button. So I'll just import button, and here we are going to just check that if loading, then this is running, or else this will be run. And here I'm just going to take on click, which will be on agent run, right? So we are having this on agent run, which we are going to take from our props. What else? Let's do disable also. So disable will be loading, and class name I'm just going to do width of full. So let's save this. Okay, so we have this. There is some space that we need to see why it is coming. So maybe we have given some space that we need to check. A margin bottom of 6. Okay, so now this should be more than enough. Now on the right side we are going to render, because on click of run we are going to get the result. So we'll go here, let's close this, right, this part. So we have the right side view. So inside this now we are going to render our panel, right? So I'll do div. So let's do a class name. So I'm just going to do rounded, let's do 3xl border. We'll do border slate of 200. We'll do bg of white divided, let's do 90, padding of 5, and I'll do shadow asym. Inside this, let's take one more div and just simply render customer reply plus sources, something like this. And here I'm just going to do a class name. So I'll do margin top of 2, and let's do text small and text slate 900. Okay, so you're having customer reply and the sources. We can also do this part with the same also, but that is fine. The UI is not the thing here, right? So we need to work on the see the result if it is working or not. So I'm trying to do this one first. So now after this, so what we can do, we can just simply check that if not equal to result, right? So in that case we can render something, or else we are going to render the results. So if no results, so I'm just going to do nothing yet, and I'm just going to do run the agent to generate the reply you want, something like this. And here let's give a class name. So I'm just going to do margin top of 4. Let's do a text of small, padding of 4, and text slate of 600. Okay, if this is not the case, so I'm just going to take a margin top of 5, and I'll do space y of 5, and inside this now we are going to render the sources. Okay, so first I'm going to render the sources. So we'll take a class name. So I'll do rounded 2xl border slate of 200, bg of white, then we're going to do padding of 4, text small, text slate of 900, and shadow asym. Inside this now we are going to take a ul, and here I'm just going to take, so let's do a class name. So I'll do list disk space y of 1 and padding left of 5, and inside this now I'm going to render result dot sources dot map. So here I'm just going to take the result and I, and let's take a ul, first pass the key which will be I, and class name I'm just going to do, let's do a break all, and inside this I'm going to render a, and I'm going to render the res here, or not res, let's do source, and we can pass the properties, right? So first we can buy the href which will be source, we can pass a target property which will be blank, then we're going to pass a real property, this will be no referrer, and also let's give a class name. So I'm going to do text indigo, maybe let's do 800, and I'm going to do on hover, let's do an underline. So this is going to render all the sources, right? Alright, so I think this is done. Now after this what we can do, we can just take one more div, and here I'm just going to render h1, let's do customer reply, and let's give a class name. So I'll do space y of 2, and here I'm just going to do text small, font medium, and I'll do text slate of 900, and here just render that content. So I'm just going to take a div, so let's take one more div here, and here what I'm going to render, I'm just going to render result dot reply, and I'll give a class name. So I'm going to do white space, let's do pre-wrap and leading relaxed, and for this also I'm going to give a class name. So I'll do rounded 2xl right? We can copy this part and then we'll paste it here. Okay, so I think this is done. So now let's save this. So now this is not yet completed because we need to handle this. We don't have any result or anything. So we'll go to our main component now, and then we are going to create the method. So first we have the start agent, right? So first of all, what I'll do, let's go here, and then I'm just going to do function, and I'll do reset UI, okay, for new task. So first I'm just going to do here, maybe let's do set result will be null, and then here what we can do, so first when we're going to start, I'm going to first call this, and then I'm just going to do const get ticket. So this will be ticket dot trim. Now what we can do, also let's give a check here. I think it's important. If not equal to get ticket, we are going to return, okay, and then I'm just going to do const data. So I'll do await, I'll do call agent, and here we're going to create a method, okay. So let's create the method first. So I'm just going to create here, so I'll do async function. So I'll do call agent, and this will receive payload, and this will be our call agent payload that we have created in the types, okay. So first of all, I'm going to do set loading will be true, and then I'm just going to call the result. So I'm just going to do await API post, and here we have what, slash API slash support slash run, and then we are going to pass the payload here, okay. And then I'm just going to do set loading will be false. Then let's give a check here, simply that if not equal to res dot okay, so I'm going to return null, or else I'm just going to do const parsed, and this will be response schema dot save parse, and I'm going to do res dot data, okay. Then also we are going to again check it parse dot success. If this is false, then also we are going to return null, okay. And then at the end we are going to return the parsed dot data. Now see what we are doing, as we have our support response that we have created, right? This has the format, the reply and the sources. This is what we are going to receive. So now here we can simply pass, in the call agent we are going to pass the provider. Remember, we need to pass the provider and the text, two things we are going to pass, because if you go to the backend, like go with their source support, and you see what this is receiving, provider and the text, two things. So you have the provider, right, and then you are going to pass the text, which will be your get ticket. So these two things we are going to pass here. Now what we're going to do, let's, okay, why you're getting error here, call agent payload. That's what I'm thinking, why this no error. Okay, so now I'm just simply going to do if not equal to data return, and then I'm simply going to do set result will be, so I have the reply, so reply will be data dot reply, and then we have the sources, which will be data dot sources. So now let's save this. Okay, let's rerun again. I think there was some problem with this, so I'll close this and then run again. Okay, so now I already have the answer ready that we are going to ask here. Okay, this is what we need, right? So first I'm going to maybe let's copy this. We'll see what is happening here, and then we're going to search that our webhook delivery start failing with this docs mention signature verification. Can you confirm the exact header name? We are using Node and Express, whatever. Now let's run this and we'll see what is happening here. Okay, we need to see if our route is working or not. That is the main thing we need to see. Fantastic. I can see that we are getting result and you are getting the citation or the sources. Now what actually mean, if you click here, right, you'll be getting the these links, right, related to those only. Now remember, we have this webhook. Now based on this word, actually what is happening here, if you go to the backend, right, these things you need to understand. It's not about the UI and fancy UI and everything. You have to understand the concept. If you go here, right, see this part, right, that I mentioned, these should web search or whatever. So it's actually checking that we have those kind of word, and based on that it's actually giving you the result with, actually it's doing a real web search, and then you're getting the result here. Okay, but if I go here, right, so let me just check, should not trigger. I've added some maybe this one, right, so let's do this. So copy this and let's see what is happening here. Paste it here and try to run. See, you're not getting the sources here. Okay, now I'm just we have to remove this UI, that is different, but here we don't have anything which is actually creating the route, and it's actually telling agent that okay, for this particular query you don't have to do a web search, you can directly return the response back. Okay, I hope you're getting right. Now consider one more, right, maybe which one, let's do this one, we'll see, or else this one, let's do. So let's run. See, so now you have redirect URI, right, and you're getting the citations back. Okay, but if you go here, right, you see that you have this word here. I want all of you to focus on this logic, that how the routing is happening, right, how agent is thinking that whether we need to do web search or we don't need to return the normal result. I hope this is clear, right? So with this, I think we have completed our project. Now remember, this is a simple one, right? We don't have that much UI and everything. That is not the thing here. I hope you'll understand. The idea is you have to understand that how we are doing login and everything, how we have created our test cases, and then how we have created our main agent logic, right? How agent is actually thinking. Alright, so now we are going to end this video with deployment, and for this one I will be using Hostinger. Now I've added this link in the description so you can check it out. Now in case you're interested, so if you go here, right, now remember I'm always very honest and transparent, so this video is actually sponsored by Hostinger. Now I want all of you to actually buy VPS in case you need it. So for example, let's say you are a student and you want to showcase your project, or let's say you are planning to start some SaaS or your own website, then you can buy VPS. Actually it is very cheap, right? So for my website also I'm using VPS only. One more thing I wanted to mention, and that is, in case you wanted to buy, right, whenever you wanted to buy, choose or plan for longer period of time. So most probably what I'm telling, that try for 12 months or 24 months. So that will be a good practice, right? So if you go here, right, so you'll be seeing the options, and based on that you can just explore, and whatever you think it's good for you, you can just buy the same. Now let's get started. The first thing what we are going to do, right, so you will be creating a repository. So I will be giving this one as, so let's do like full stack AI. No, I'll do full stack support agent, something like this. Okay, I'm going to make this one as private, and then I'm going to do create repository. So this will be your first step. Okay, so once you create the repository, next what we need to do, we are going to create our Docker compose file and the Docker file. Now remember, for backend we are going to use for backend repo or the server, we are going to use Docker file. For front end I'm going to show you a different way. So we are going to use Vite, and then we will be directly creating our prod build inside VPS only. So we don't need separate Docker file for our front end. So here what I will do, right, first we'll go to our server and then create our Docker file, and then just copy paste this part, right? So this I already discussed in multiple videos. It's nothing said. Simply we are using we are copying all the code, right, and then we are just using node environment is production, we are exposing this, and then at the end we are telling that okay, which will be our starting file, which is our dist and index.js file. Not going to much details, so just copy and paste. All the details and everything I'll be adding in the source code, right? So you can just copy paste from there. And then we also need to add a Docker ignore, which is very important, right? So that during Docker build it will ignore the things that you don't need. So here I'm just going to add all this, right? So you have node modules, env, and etc. Copy this and paste it here. Next we have our Docker Compose. Now for here you can see that we have only one service, so which is server, and this port we are using so that this is actually only applicable accessible inside your localhost only, okay, or inside your VPS only. So here what I'm going to do, so just copy this, and this we need to create in our root, okay. So I'm just going to create in our root, and then we are going to just paste it here, okay, till this part, and then paste it, save. Now what we are going to do, so let's create our git ignore file, okay. So here I'm just going to give node modules, and then we are going to do env, these two things. So now let's save this, and here I'm going to open one terminal. So I'll do git init, okay, and then what I'll do, just go here, copy this to add the origin, and then just paste it here, and now I'll do just adding all changes, okay. So now add this, publish, okay. So now the code will be here, right? So all the code will be here. Once this is done, now next thing what we are going to do, so we'll go here. Now once we'll be inside VPS dashboard, right? So you'll see that what you can do, you can come from here VPS, and then you just have to choose a OS. So in our case I'll be using Ubuntu, which is very popular, right? So you can also use the same. And then once you'll choose all of this and do the setup, you will be getting your root access, right? So this is what actually you need to connect our VPS from our local terminal. So this will be the first step. One very important point, and that is during your setup you have chosen some root password. The same thing you have to use here also. And the next thing what we're going to do, right? So let's open our terminal. Now we have a lot of steps, okay, so many steps we need to do. So here just copy this. Now in case you'll get some error, right, that it actually the host key verification failed, so that means what you can do simply, so let me just check here. So we are going to just reset it, okay. So here we just have to, because this will come when you are going to change your root password or you just reboot your VPS, that time only it will come. If you're doing for the first time, this will not come, okay. So now what we are going to do here, so first we'll start with that. So I'm going to connect to my VPS. I'm going to copy this, and then we'll paste it here. So ask for yes, and then it will ask for password. I'm going to give my password. Once this is done, you'll be inside your VPS. So now I'm inside my VPS. So first thing we are going to install all the packages and everything. Now for this one, right, for this I have a dedicated video that I've already uploaded, I think last week or 2 weeks back, so you can check the same. So first this will be your first step. Once this is done, then we are going to install okay, let me give you all the ideas. First we are going to install this git, curl, nginx and everything. We are going to allow all this, right? We are going to install docker. We are going to check docker and docker compose. Whenever we are going to VPS will start, we are going to basically enable our docker. We are going to create our folder, project folder, clone our project, right? Updates env, very important. We are going to check our docker compose. Then we are going to run this. Now before this also, there is one very important one, that is we also need to update our Scalekit callback also, right? Remember we have used Scalekit for our login, so that also we are going to update. So let's do one by one, okay? So there are a lot of steps we need to do, okay? This is not a single step. So first, once this is done, let me just copy this. I think it's still happening. In the meantime, let me just quickly open my Scalekit dashboard. Okay, so I think this is done. So now let's install all this, right? So we need all these three. Now I'm going to run one by one all these. Okay, so rules updated. Let's allow nginx full. Then we're going to enable and then check the status. So do yes, and I'll do ACEDEVHUB status, and you'll see that all will be allow action. Okay, so this is done. Next we are going to install docker. In the meantime, let's go to duck DNS, and we also need to have a DNS, right? So let's create this. So I'm going to sign in with Google. So let's give this one as full stack AI. Okay, add domain. And now what you need to do, this IP that you have to connect with this IP. Okay, so copy this, not this, sorry, only the IP you need. So copy this and then you just update it here. That's it. So now this is updated to this IP. Okay, so let's see if this is done or not. Okay, this is done. Now we are simply going to check the Docker version, and also let's check the Docker Compose version also. Now we are going to enable this. Next, okay, let's create the folder. So I'm just going to create the folder, and then we'll go to this folder, inside this folder. And now this is important. Okay, what you need to do, we are going to clone the repo. Okay, this will be git clone https. This will be your username, GitHub username that you'll be getting from here. So this will be your username and this will be your repo, full stack support agent. So I'm going to copy this, and then what you need to do, so you have token, this token I'm going to show you from where you're going to get, @github.com/ again username, and this will be man deployment, and this is what, this is the repo. Okay, this is repo, full stack support agent, and this is the folder name inside your VPS. And this I'm going to do as, maybe let's do this one as, what you can do, right, let's do full stack AI, something like this. Okay, and then we are going to go to this particular folder inside VPS. Okay, so don't get confused. So this is your repo name, this is the folder name inside your VPS. Now how we are going to get the token? To get this, you have to go to settings, and then you'll go to the developer settings, and then you have the classic token. So from here you're going to get the token. Okay, from here. So that I'm not going to show you because definitely it's like should not show the token, especially the GitHub token. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to replace this token with my GitHub token, and then I'm going to run this particular command. Okay, this git clone with this, and then I will be inside this particular folder, which will be cd full stack -ai, and after that only we will start the next step. All right, so you can see that I'm inside this folder now it is very important. So what you're going to do, right, see, first of all, if you go here, we already have this domain full stack AI. And if you go to the, let's go here, let me quickly show you. Not here, I will just quickly check. Now, so you see that we have these envs. You remember you have added backend URL, frontend URL. What you need to do, right, you have to add all these in your VPS. Okay, so first I'm going to show you how we are going to do that, but I'm not going to show you all this secret. Okay, so we have the Scalekit secret, OpenAI key, Tavily API key. If you're using Gemini, so you have to replace with Gemini, so you have to add all this. I hope this is clear. So I'm just going to show you here. So first I'm going to copy this. Okay, definitely I'm not going to add like this. I will be updating with correct info only, but this is what you need to do. So let me just show you the step. Okay, so we have this nano server /env. So this is where you have the env, correct? So I'm going to do nano server /env, and this is where you have to add it. So something like this. I hope this is clear. But what change you need to do in this backend URL for now, right? We haven't created any certificates and everything. We don't have that. We are going to do later, but let's do it now only. What you have to do, right, you have to change this one to HTTPS, and then what you have to do, right, you have to use that your domain. So you have to do full stack AI. Okay, full stack AI, and then .duckdns.org. I hope this is clear. So this will be full stack AI .duckdns.org, and these you have to change for both front-end URL and the backend URL. I hope this is clear. I'm going to repeat once again. Copy paste all your env, paste it here, and change the front-end URL and the backend URL to the domain name that you have created. If you have given different name here, you have to change with that particular name only. What I'm going to do now, so I'm going to now copy paste my env here. Okay, then what you have to do, you have to do Control O, enter, Control X. So I'm going to repeat, Control O, enter, and Control X. Okay, so I'm going to pause it and I'm going to do this step. Okay, so I've done that step. So now what will be your next step? So next step, let's do the same for your client side also, because we also need to do in the client side only. So I'll go to this client /env, right? And what we need to do, right? So enter. So let's see what we are using in the client side. I think we are using Vite or something, right? So we have Vite backend URL. So this also you need to change. So copy this paste it here, and this also will be changed to https full stack AI .duckdns.org. okay, so do Control O, enter Control X. okay, so I hope this is clear. Now we also need to do here one more thing, and that I forgot, and that is go to source, go to index. These also need to change, so I'm just going to do this onto process.env dot, and we are using that what is that name, front end URL, right? So this is what we need to do. So we need to actually add this here. okay, so let's save this in this course, and then I'll do update course index. So let's push these changes. okay, now let's do a git pull. Alright, so we got the updated code. Now what we need to do, so let's go to these steps. Okay, so now I think we have done this, so now we can build this, right? Okay, let's gonna check once again that we have our Docker file correct or not. So we have, so Control O, enter Control X. Now let's build this. Okay, so I'm going to copy this and we'll just build. So this we are building the backend. okay, because in backend we in Docker Compose we have only one service, right? So let's see, hope that we don't get any error or anything. I'm not going to pause so that you can see that what is happening here. Okay, awesome. So this is done. Now let's see the status once. Okay, so this is done. Next, what we have to do, right? So now we are going to map these to our duck DNS, right? We need to map this in our VPS. So you see what you are doing: HTTPS duck DNS update domain full stack AI. This is what token. This is my token, the token that I have, and this is the IP. IP is the VPS IP. okay, and this domain is very important. This is the domain that you are using here, full stack AI. So let's go here and then copy this, and this token you will be getting from here. Now this is this token here. okay, so now I will go here and then just map this. So this is done. Then install this DNS utils just to check if this is, now see, when I'm going to run this, right, it should be mapped to my hostinger VPS IP. okay, so if that is coming, means it is working fine. Now let's see this is the IP. So this IP is the hostinger IP. Now next will be, we are going to install, we also need the Nginx. Nginx we have already installed, right? So we're going to enable, and then we are going to just, okay, so we have Nginx now. Alright, so now let's update our we have to add our Nginx config, right? So we will go inside our folder. So let's copy this and let's go here, enter. Now what actually we need to add here? Okay, so let me just show you quickly. Alright, so what actually we have here? So first of all, we have the server name, right? This is your path, and this is the index.html that we are going to serve for our front end. But remember, we haven't built our front end yet, that we are going to do. So in the meantime, if you want to do this on properly, what you can do, right, for this location slash, right, from where we are going to serve our front end code, you can just return some message or whatever, but for now I just added it because anyways after we are going to build it, we have to add this code. The point is you have to understand that how we are actually routing based on the proxy, based on the location that Nginx is going to serve. Nginx is going to serve this based on location. So whenever we have the location slash status, we are going to use this particular proxy. For auth, we are going to use this, right? For whenever there will be any route that will start with /API, that means we'll understand now, or we are going to tell Nginx that okay, this is a API route, so based on that we are going to use this particular proxy. Now it is very important, because if you don't add all of this, right, it's not going to understand, right? So Nginx is nothing but it's like a how to explain, it's like a watchman in a building, so which will give you direction, something like this. So what we are going to do, right, I'm just going to add complete thing. copy this. You're going to get this from source code and paste it here. Let me just see. Okay, this is correct. We'll do Control O, enter, Control X. So you can just verify once again. Okay, so this is done. So now what will be our next step? So next step will be, we'll go here. So now we are going to just test the config if this is correct or not. We have this folder, right? This is what we are using, the location. So we'll do nginx, this should be successful. Okay, and then we are going to reload. Now what we are going to do, we are going to run the front end build. So I'm just going to copy this, right, and then just enter. In the meantime, let's see what else we need to do. Okay, I think we are almost done. There is no error, right? So this should be good. We should be good. Let's see. Okay, so you can see that this is the index.html that it's created. I already told you, right, that it's going to create a single file. So this is done. Now you're going to run these 3 commands. If you want to understand each and every command that whatever you've written, I've actually explained everything in the previous code, right? I have a dedicated video for this. So I'm doing little fast for this one. And then we're just going to test once again and reload. Okay, so we are going to, I think we don't have to do it. I think we should be good. I think we should be good. So now what we have to do, right? Okay, we have to install the certbot, and also we are going to just add a certificate, or else we can't use HTTPS. So let's install this, and this will be the domain that you are using in your duck DNS. This is very, very important. Okay, let's give my email here. All right, also in the meantime what we can do, right, so let's go here, let's go to Scalekit. We have the auth methods, not auth methods, redirect URI, and here I'm just going to add one more. So this will be my HTTPS. So this will be fullstack.ai.duckdns.org/auth/callback. Okay, I think this is correct. Add this, and I'm just going to delete this one from our localhost. Okay, so we have this. I think if this is correct, so I think this is done, right? So we have this successfully received certificate. Okay, now we can go here and let's see what is happening. Okay, that's it. So it is working. Okay, let's do one thing. I'm just going to open any incognito just to verify, because we need to see if the redirect and everything is working or not, right? So let's keep it here only. So click. Fantastic. So this is going. Okay, I'm just going to give my email. Okay, continue. Okay, let me just quickly see the OTP. Okay, so I'll just quickly see the OTP and then paste it. Alright, so you got the OTP, and that is 832147. So I'll do 832147. Okay, so continue. That's it. Okay, so this is working. Now finally we need to see if our actual support and everything it's giving answer or not. So we'll go here, right? I already have that query that I've written. So many files I have, man. Let me just check slowly. Okay, not here. Some places I've added. Okay, so we will see this one first and then paste it here. Let's run. That's it. So we are getting the result, okay, with citations or sources, and you'll be getting the result here. Okay, so that means we have now finally deployed this successfully in our VPS also. So with this project is now completed. If you like this video, give a like, comment down, and please subscribe to my channel. I will see you in my next video. Till then, good luck and peace.